And good Monday afternoon, everyone. Welcome into Fox 5 News Live at 1 o'clock. We're so glad you're here. Remember, this is an interactive news show. We are live streaming on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, along with Fox Local. Join us in the comments. We want to hear from you. We are monitoring them throughout the show, and we'll answer any questions you have to the best of our abilities. And we have a lot to get to today, a very busy news day, and I want to get to Fox 5 assignment manager Tanya Mendoza. She is standing by at our assignment desk. She was busy working on the computer, I saw right there, probably getting the latest information. I know Cobb County is the story we are really following right now because there was a tragic house fire overnight, or apartment fire.
Yes, Tyler. We have reporter Annie Mapp out in the Smyrna area where there was a deadly apartment fire at the Concord Crossing Apartments off of Woodsong Way in Smyrna. This fire started late last night, and approximately 30 people are displaced. 24 units were declared uninhabitable. Sadly, 3 people are dead, including 2 children. Annie Mapp is out there speaking to victims from this fire, a lot of them having to be rescued off balconies and just leaving with the clothes on their backs. There is a local church that is helping right now some of those victims from the fire around the corner. Is the name of it, Smyrna Church of Nazarene, and obviously the Red Cross is out there as well assisting with that. We expect to have an update from Cobb County Fire Department later, and Annie will have the latest on that story at 4, 5, and 6, including she's speaking to some of the family members of the victims that passed away in the fire.
I know we're working to confirm some more details about this tragic fire. Do we know if there's anyone in the hospital, anyone else was injured in all of this?
It's my understanding that there may be others in the hospital, and they may have been critical. We're waiting to hear from authorities the latest on their conditions.
Understandably, Tanya, thank you for that. And then another story we're following right now obviously has to do with the Colin Gray trial, week 2. It got underway last Monday. What's the latest with that? I understand that the suspect's mom, Colt Gray's mom, testified today against her ex-husband.
That's right. The Colin Gray trial enters its 2nd week. Colin Gray is the father of accused Appalachia High School shooter Colt Gray. And we have reporter Kevin Stewart out there. He is updating us on the latest testimony, which you can also watch live on our website. But what we do know today is, like you just said, Marcee Gray was testifying, and she was talking to jurors. She told jurors her son Colt had searched how to kill my dad as early as 2021 and suffered a full-blown panic attack in July of 2024. So she talks about his mental health, family life leading up to the shooting. We do have some sound from that testimony today, and I'd like for us to play it right now.
It's very different from the Colt that I remembered, that I had left with his dad when we left in 2022. He had a lot of anger inside, and he was very aggressive and unpredictable, so much so that I ended up relocating his little sister across town to my parents' house because I didn't want to leave her there along with him.
Hey, Tyler.
Okay,
so that trial continues. Kevin Stewart's out there. We'll have the latest on that later today.
Okay, and another story we're working on is down at the state capitol. We have Deidre Dukes there like every day during the legislative session. This next story actually makes a lot of sense when it comes to protecting law enforcement when they're out there. What is the bill that they are considering, and what is Deidre, who is Deidre talking to today?
Yes, that's right. The Georgia House passed a bill requiring drivers to pull over to the right shoulder during traffic stops. if this continues and goes through the Senate as well, drivers would be mandated to move to the right shoulder of the road, even if the left side is closer, to create a safer work zone for emergency workers and authorities. She's talking to State Representative Clint Crow. He's a former state trooper, and he's backing the bill. What's strange about this is I already thought this was a law, Tyler. So it was news to me when she pitched it this morning. It sounds like it would be a safe situation for all. You drive Atlanta roads and highways. How many times you see people on the left side pulling over when there's an emergency? So it makes sense that if you're being pulled over by law enforcement, just to go ahead and safely move over to the right side. I think our viewers could probably comment in the chat and let us know what they think about this bill.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. You have drivers who are out there. The left lane is that passing lane, that lane where people tend to go a little faster than maybe the speed limit. So if you're pulling over into that area, you put the officer or the deputy or whoever the law enforcement officer is at risk. So that makes a lot of sense. So it'll be interesting to see what people comment here on our TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook pages and where we're streaming.
That's right.
Yeah.
And Tyler, I do want to mention one other story. We don't have a reporter working on it right now, but it's interesting because it came over from Atlanta Police Department Crime Stoppers. I was just looking at the release a minute ago before you came to me. Basically, it's a larceny case in the Buckhead area at 1050 Lenox Park Boulevard Northwest. It shows video of a man he's caught on camera, entering a package room at an apartment complex or building, and he steals several items, including one really large item that he kind of looked like he was struggling to pull out. I think you guys are rolling on that video right now to show our viewers what he looks like. Yeah, they're looking for any information on this person, and if anybody has a tip on this case, to let them know. What I thought was pretty funny in this video, because he goes and grabs some of the smaller packages, and there's like a meal prep kit box there as well, but he doesn't grab the meal prep kit. He grabs some smaller packages, and he comes back and grabs a really large one. Anybody who has any information on this, they can submit a tip anonymously to Atlanta Crime Stoppers. The phone number is 404-577-8477.
Yeah, you can see that we're watching the video right now. He grabs one of those delivery big bulk carriers, and he starts loading it up. It's very interesting. Unfortunately, this day and age, everyone orders online, so a lot of things are getting delivered, so it makes a lot of sense. And then, yeah, he loads it up pretty quickly and grabbing a few more things, and he's going to take it right out. So hopefully someone might recognize him and can help police out to bring him to justice, because these cameras are pretty good.
That's right. And this happens a lot more often than we even find out about. Think about how many people have told you they had a package stolen. It's not necessarily something we report on every day, but we do hear about it in the community. This time, this person was caught on camera. APD decided to send over that press release with the video to let everybody know about it and try to get some tips on this case.
Well, Tanya, thank you so much for bringing all of our top headlines that we are following. We have a lot of stories we're tracking in the Fox 5 newsroom, and I do appreciate your time this afternoon. As we continue on here on the news at 1 o'clock, I want to talk about another story that people are going to be paying attention to, and it's the State of the Union. Tomorrow, President Donald Trump will deliver his State of the Union address from Capitol Hill. He's expected to highlight strong economic growth amid concerns about high living costs and trade policies. You'll be able to watch it on Fox Local tomorrow starting at 9 p.m. But all of this comes after a security scare at the president's Florida resort, Mar-a-Lago, that's in Palm Beach. A man who authorities say was armed with a shotgun and a fuel can was shot and killed by Secret Service agents Saturday. The president and First Lady were at the White House at the time of the shooting and not down in Florida. Investigators identified the intruder as 21-year-old Austin Martin of North Carolina, and they believe he picked up the firearm on his way south from North Carolina to Florida. Again, thankfully, the president wasn't there, but obviously a security scare for the Secret Service that they took very seriously and were able to end swiftly, but it did end with that loss of life, that 21-year-old. We did hear from them over the weekend. Obviously, the investigation continues. Also here at 1 o'clock, we are following another story, and this has to do with an anniversary of Ahmaud Arbery's when he was shot and killed. It's been 6 years now. It's hard to believe. He was running through a South Georgia neighborhood. 3 men were convicted in the case, and Arbery's honor runners will gather today for the annual Run with Maud's 5K, which celebrates his love for running and serves as a call to action for justice and equality. In Atlanta, there is a 6:30 p.m. meetup at Lee and White. That's at 929 Lee Street Southwest. That's along the Beltline area. Hopefully some folks are able to go out there and take part. Another story we are tracking has to do with some winter weather. It is certainly not a good day if you are traveling or if you're anywhere in the Northeast. There are blizzard conditions. I mean, take a look at the video that we are seeing. The snow is piling up across the Northeast. A powerful bomb cyclone is barreling through that part of the country, with more than 40 million Americans under blizzard warnings. Heavy and dense snow combined with high winds are putting a strain on power lines, leaving, get this, more than 500,000 people without power across the East Coast, and that's just right now, and things could get worse. And 100,000 of those outages are in the state of New Jersey alone. And travelers are also getting hit hard at the airport. We spoke to a woman here at Hartsfield-Jackson International who is facing trouble getting back home because we have seen a number of flights either delayed or unfortunately canceled as well. Take a listen.
Well, let's see. We arrived from Seoul, South Korea on Delta, no problems, on time, about 5:30 yesterday. When we arrived, of course, Wi-Fi again, so we got text that our flight transfer was canceled to BWI.
So you made your international flight, but now you're having a bit of an issue getting back home. Is that right?
Right. So we
talk about that.
Yep, we went to the Delta counter, and they looked at all the flights in the D.C. area, so we can fly into BWI, Dulles in Virginia, or National Airport, or even Richmond we asked about. And everything was booked until Tuesday evening.
Got it. And from what you understand, your conversations is all sort of weather-related?
All weather-related, all about the snowstorm in the Northeast. It's been fine. I mean, it is what it is, right? What can you do? We knew there was bad weather coming in. I mean, I started seeing it on social media about 5 days ago, but what can you do until you're there?
Yeah, unfortunately, travelers are kind of just stuck in the middle here. They're trying to get home. Unfortunately, planes and trains and pretty much any transportation method, there's only so much you can do when the snow is piling up. I've seen over a foot of snow in some places and even more of that depending where you are. So unfortunately, you can just see all of the snow piling up there. And as we continue on here, I want to give you a look outside as we get ready to check our weather forecast. The good news here is we are not seeing anything super snowy like that. I think that's good news. We already got our stuff back in January. Things are a lot nicer here in Atlanta. You're looking live outside. Look at the blue skies out there. Things are obviously incredibly cold, but we should mention there are some warming centers that are going to be opening tonight because the temperatures are dropping at 8 p.m. until 10 a.m. tomorrow. The city of Atlanta will be opening their Central Park Recreation Center at 400 Merritt's Avenue. That's in Northeast Atlanta. The second warming center will open at Selena S. Butler Park and Recreation Center at 98 William Holmes Borders Drive. That's for women and children only. We're going to put all the details on our website, fox5atlanta.com, and of course, right here on our Fox Local app. Well, let's get a check of our forecast, Jonathan. When I stepped outside today, I was a little shocked, I think, to say the least, because I don't think I walked outside yesterday just because I had things going on. I had to do the laundry and all the stuff like that. But this is way different than what we were seeing last week. We got the nice warm temperatures, and now what? We're back below freezing at one point overnight.
Tyler, in full transparency, I've had to read your lips, but I cannot discern what you're saying because I can't hear you through my ear.
Okay.
However, I assume that you were talking to me to talk about this return of winter across the eastern United States. And we are getting in on the cold air and the rough winds. However, it is the wintry precip up to the north that is really capturing our attention. You just took us out to the airport where they're talking about delays and cancellations building by the hour because this storm system, this blizzard, if you will, is unrelenting across the Northeast. The I-95 corridor specifically here, they continue to receive snowfall anywhere as far south as the Chesapeake Bay, all the way as far north as New England, with the brunt of that being felt and focused on Philadelphia and New York, where you have snowfall amounts so far that have come in within the past 24 hours between 13 and 17 inches. Boston 12, plus the D.C. metro area 6+ inches. Baltimore more than 3 inches there, and they are not done yet. There's still more to come. You add to that, you have a wind gust near 43 miles an hour at times, especially as you get out along the Cape there, going out to Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard. Their gusts around 50-60 miles an hour, and that's a straight up blizzard there. Even for Long Island, those gusts are quite potent, and they're going to continue to have to put up with this energy as long as that area of low pressure spins off the coast, pushing in that Atlantic moisture, but it's coming onto the eastern seaboard that is quite frigid, where temperatures are below freezing. That is our story too. Temperatures are below freezing for the most part. However, for every location across North Georgia, it feels like it's below freezing. These numbers are in the teens and the 20s area wide. The camera's still shaking because the winds will not rest. Winds are coming in out of the northeast at 21 miles an hour at this moment. The current temperature is 37 degrees, but it feels like it's 26 degrees considering how ferocious those winds are. They'll continue to abide as we go throughout the day. So gusty today, and then the wind chills, they will not get above 32 degrees for today. Tonight we're going back down into the 20s for an actual air temperature. Some communities eking into the teens. In terms of your rain chances, they're held off until Wednesday and possibly even Thursday. Your hour-by-hour forecast here shows you that those winds continue to hustle in out of the north and the west. We'll look for temperatures during the afternoon hours to roll into the lower 40s, but it's going to still feel like it's around 32 degrees tonight. Going into tomorrow morning, the winds will soften a bit, but still a breath of wind can go a long way at keeping that wind chill in the low 20s, while the actual air temperature will be around 26 degrees. I hope the kids come home with their thick coats, because they're going to need it again tomorrow morning. 19 degrees for a temperature to start the morning there in Blairsville. But there will be growth by leaps and bounds tomorrow afternoon. By midday, stepping out for lunch, 43 degrees. You still need your coat, but much better than today. That's our high temperature for today. By tomorrow afternoon, it looks like the 50s will have made a return, and we'll start picking up on a southwesterly flow. And with that southwesterly flow, not at first, but as the day grows on and turns into night, we'll get more clouds moving in here. And you'll see those clouds first thing Wednesday morning. Not as much sunshine as we had this morning and tomorrow morning. 39 degrees to start out your Wednesday, but then a passing shower will be the focal point of the forecast as we get into your hump day. I don't think your rain chances are that high. However, we'll look out for a passing shower, because it's going to lay the groundwork for what we're going to get Thursday. You can see here by Wednesday, temperatures are back around 60 degrees. Your best chance for rain this week, without a doubt, comes Thursday. We'll book in some softer and lower rain chances for Wednesday and Friday. A rumble of thunder can't be ruled out. So Tyler, you got to hang in there, because it's going to be cold once again tonight. Temperatures dropping down into the 20s, but we'll make it to the 50s tomorrow, and then the 60s are locked in for the remainder of the week to come.
The weekend looks pretty good. Jonathan, thanks so much for a look at the forecast. I do appreciate it. As we continue on here for Fox 5 News Live at 1 o'clock, we still have a lot more ahead. We're going to be checking in with a reporter from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution after two Georgia families are forever changed after that deadly midair collision near Reagan National Airport last year. She just published an amazing in-depth story. We're going to talk to her just ahead. 5 News Live at 1 o'clock. We're so glad you're here. Our next story is an interesting one that has grabbed the nation's attention, especially since it was the worst air travel tragedy in years. It's been a little more than a year since that deadly midair collision near our nation's capital. Last week, the National Transportation Safety Board released its final report into the tragedy. Investigators said there are several factors that contributed to the crash. One of those factors was the pilot's restricted view. Investigators recently released some animations that simulate what they dealt with. Investigators also said a crowded airspace and little warning from air traffic control contributed to the crash between an American Airlines jet and an Army Black Hawk helicopter, which killed 67 people. Last month, we heard from the National Transportation Safety Board chairwoman. Let's take a listen to what she had to say.
Underlying systemic failures, system flaws aligned to create the conditions that led to this devastating tragedy.
Yeah, and 2 of those killed were 2 young men from Georgia. Sam Lilly grew up near Savannah and was a pilot of the American Airlines regional jet. U.S. Army Staff Sergeant Ryan O'Hara was from Lilburn and was the crew chief on that Black Hawk helicopter. And joining us now is an AJC reporter, Emma Hurt, who just published an in-depth story about this titled 2 Georgia Families Forever Connected by the D.C. Midair Collision. She spent time with both of these Georgia families. Emma, thanks so much for being here this afternoon.
Thanks for having me, Tyler.
I do appreciate it. So let's start here. You spent time with both of the families. When you first met them, what struck you about the way they're grieving? And can you tell us about their sons and what they told you?
You know, this is, unfortunately, as we know, people die in accidents of all kinds all the time, right? But this being, as you alluded to, the first fatal commercial aviation accident in 16 years, the amount of scrutiny over every detail of what had gone wrong, what might have happened, has been immense. And so what you see are 2 families who, you know, have really become aviation safety reform experts in different ways, and who have really dove into the thousands of pages of investigation that the NTSB has released. And it really is a different kind of grieving process when you're getting into the technical details alongside just grieving the loss of your son. And I'll just say, of these 2 young men, I mean, we have 2 Georgians who were lost here, but eerily we have 2 28-year-old Georgians who were both doing their job. They were not passengers. It sets them in a little bit of a different category among these victims. And their parents lived, you know, just a few miles away from each other along the Georgia coast. So it's really, you couldn't have sadly written this story.
Yeah, and I read your article. Both families really talked about how they're losing the opportunity of the future. How did they describe living with the fact that now these 2 28-year-olds won't get to have what they would have had, their future ahead of them?
Absolutely. I mean, it's been a year, just over a year, and the NTSB rushed to put out its final report outlining what it believed were the causes of this accident. And I say causes because there were many systemic failures. And so for the NTSB, that's the end of the road. Congress is considering a major reform package this week. But for these families, I mean, grief just is beginning, and it's something that will never end. Ryan O'Hara has a 2-year-old son who apparently looks and walks just like him. Sam Lilly was supposed to get married last October. Both were supposed to turn 30 in May and June of this year. For these families, just every month brings another milestone of grief, really.
Yeah, the NTSB said this was a 100% preventable tragedy. And you wrote about one of the most painful parts of the investigation for the families was having to see an animation of the crash, which I believe we have the video of. And what did they tell you about watching those final seconds unfold through that animation?
I think what's so hard to watch for the families of these 2 animations, and in a weird way also a little comforting, right, when you're talking about 2 men who were in the cockpits, is that they couldn't really see each other until the very last second, at least for based on the animation in Sam's plane, the American Airlines jet. At the very last second, they could see it, but you see there, if that animation is really how it happened, they couldn't have prevented this accident in the plane. And then on the helicopter side, you see how the lights of the night sky really made it difficult to see the plane, and how, you know, on the helicopter pilot side, they told air traffic control seconds before the crash, oh, we know what plane you're talking about, we see it, don't worry. And then the crash happened. And so you have to assume they did not see it. And so I think both animations really show that they were set up to fail, as the NTSB has found that they could not themselves see it coming.
We obviously know that airspace is incredibly tight, and it's also incredibly restricted. But when you have different plane types and aircraft types, it's all intermingling around there. People have been saying for years that this was inevitably the result that we were going to see, and unfortunately it happened last year. Sam's family has particularly been vocal about wanting to see reforms. They're going to be in our nation's capital this week. What are their plans?
Yeah, they have aligned with a group of the passengers' families on the plane to advocate for what's known as the Rotor Act. It passed the Senate. It's a package of reforms spurred by this accident that include some recommendations the NTSB has had for decades, including for aircraft collision avoidance technology that could have allowed Sam's plane and Ryan's helicopter to be alerted to each other's presence and not just be relying on one air traffic controller, which is what was happening that night. The House plans to vote on it tomorrow, I believe, is the latest we've heard. But there is some tension over it. You know, a leading Republican has introduced a competing version that the Lillies and other victims' families are not supportive of, that the pilots union, ALPA, is not supportive of. So this is really, while it passed the Senate unanimously, in the House there is quite a fight happening right now in D.C. And as you mentioned, the Lillies have taken on really a leading role as aviation safety reform advocates. Tim Lilly, Sam's dad, is a pilot himself, a former Army helicopter pilot as well, eerily enough. And so they're continuing to meet with lawmakers and officials, as they have been for the last year.
And just quickly before we let you go, what do you hope people take away from reading your story that you published on AJC, or for the AJC?
You know, I hope that people learn about what caused this accident, because we have a lot of information. How they see that this was several, really, of our nation's most complex institutions, the FAA, the Department of Transportation, the U.S. Army, how these systems failed people that night, and also that they take away just a glimpse of 2 of the 67 lives that were lost, and the humans that were behind the technical details and all of the institutional failures that we must talk about as well. But it's those lives that were lost, the families, the sons, the mothers, the fathers, that will have the longest lasting legacy, that grief.
Yeah, I mean, you have to understand more than 60 people lost their lives in this. As you mentioned, the 2 people from Georgia were just simply doing their jobs. Emma, I do appreciate your time today, and thank you so much for joining us here on Fox 5 News Live at 1 o'clock. And I appreciate your in-depth reporting. For more on her reporting, you can go to AJC's website. Emma, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for the time, Tyler.
Yeah. And still ahead here on Fox 5 News Live at 1 o'clock, we're going to give you an update on the Nancy Guthrie case, the investigation into her disappearance. We have a live report from Tucson in minutes. And welcome back to Fox 5 News Live at 1 o'clock. We want to get you an update on the Nancy Guthrie disappearance. It's been 4 weeks now, 23 days since she was last seen. And Fox spoke to a former soccer star whose own parent was kidnapped about what the Guthrie family might be feeling. For the latest on where the case stands, Fox's Rebecca Castor is live in Tucson, Arizona, outside of Nancy Guthrie's home. Rebecca, good afternoon. Thanks for being here.
Tyler, thanks for having me.
And so let's start here. What can you tell us about where the investigation stands 23 days into all of this?
Yeah, it's crazy that we are now on week 4 of this investigation, and it's hard to believe that authorities haven't been able to identify a person of interest or a suspect or even connect a vehicle to this investigation. But there are still hundreds of authorities investigating this case. The sheriff's office says that they are not rolling back any resources. We know the sheriff's office helicopter are looking at flight tracking apps here. We saw that it was up this afternoon, possibly conducting another search. So again, they're just still throwing everything they have at this case. Authorities are pursuing multiple leads. Of course, that viral door camera video is one of the biggest leads they're chasing down right now. They still have not been able to identify the man seen in that video. He was masked, so they're having a hard time identifying who that could possibly be, but they have been able to identify the backpack that he was likely wearing. They believe it was a backpack that is exclusively sold at Walmart, so that is one avenue that they are chasing down, and they also have said that they are getting closer to identifying more items of clothing seen in that door camera video, so that is just one avenue that they're still chasing down right now, Tyler.
So Fox had spoken to a former soccer star whose family member was kidnapped for ransom, and he talked about that harrowing experience. Based off what he said, is there hope that she's still out there?
Yeah, so it was really interesting to speak with. It's Mikel John Obi. For those that are soccer fans, they'll know him from his decade playing with Chelsea FC. And I want you guys to listen to his message to Savannah Guthrie, just from his perspective as another celebrity who's been through a similar experience.
Someone who's been in this situation for a couple of times, I understand what they're going through. I can feel the pain. They just have to keep the faith. When it becomes difficult is when you don't know exactly the reason why he or she's been kidnapped.
He called into us all the way from Dubai, so that's why there's some video lagging issues there. But in his situation, his father was kidnapped twice in Nigeria, and he said the biggest difference between his experience and what the Guthries are likely going through is, he said in his situation, it was clear from the beginning that his family was being targeted for money, and they were able to make that connection with the kidnappers from day one. They had a clear line of communication with them, and their demands were clear. With the Guthrie case, it is not clear what the motive is at this point. The FBI has not been able to verify whether any of these ransom notes that were sent to media outlets are legitimate, and we don't know if the Guthrie family has a clear line of communication with the kidnappers established.
Yeah, and so we haven't heard from Savannah Guthrie in more than a week. We've been hearing from her pretty consistently. She's been posting on Instagram. Since they don't even know if those ransom notes are legitimate, based off what you just said, do we know if this is a tactic by investigators?
I'm not sure if I still have you.
We may be experiencing technical difficulties. Not sure if we just lost Rebecca. It sounds like we did.
Tyler, I think we lost connection, so I'm just going to toss it back to you.
Well, Rebecca, thank you so much. Live in Tucson, Arizona. Obviously, lots of questions still in this case as police are obviously continuing to investigate. As we come back in here, I want to talk about another story we're following, and we'll make sure you keep getting updated consistently on what is happening in Tucson, Arizona for the search for Nancy Guthrie. That was Rebecca Castor reporting. Thanks so much. And let's get a check right now. So Nick Reiner, you may remember that name, the 32-year-old son of acclaimed director Rob Reiner, pled not guilty today to 2 counts of first-degree murder in the fatal stabbing of his parents in December. Reiner's attorney, Deputy Public Defender Kimberly Green, entered the plea on his behalf as he stood behind glass in an enclosed custody area of the packed Los Angeles courtroom. The third of Rob Reiner's 4 children, Nick Reiner, has been held without bail since his arrest, hours after the actor, director, and Michelle Singer Reiner, his wife of 36 years, were found dead on December 14th at their home in the upscale Brentwood section of Los Angeles. The judge told Reiner to return to court on April 29th for the scheduling of a preliminary hearing where prosecutors will present evidence and a judge will decide if it's enough for Reiner to go to trial. District Attorney Nathan Hochman said outside court that his office still hasn't decided whether it will seek the death penalty for Reiner, but obviously a very interesting case that people had been following since that December incident. Obviously, we know that a preliminary hearing will provide a lot of details, so it'll be very interesting to see what happens on that day so we get more details about what allegedly happened during this incident. As we come back here into our studio, I want to talk about another story, another bunch of stories that we are following, things that are trending right now on our website, fox5atlanta.com. That's where Joyce Lupiani is standing by at our digital desk with a look at the stories people are clicking on. Hey, Joyce.
Hey, Tyler, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic on this Monday. Put a jacket on, walked outside. I mean, you can't complain. We could be sweating. Could be summer.
No, I much prefer the heat. But anyways, I got a couple of interesting stories for you. So this one actually happened last week. So we all know what happened with the Supreme Court and the terrace. Well, apparently on Friday morning, someone called into C-SPAN and they were using the name John Barron. Now, the name John Barron is a name that President Trump has used in the past. And the caller sounded a whole lot like him. And apparently during this phone call, John Barron was complaining about the Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs. So, of course, everybody's like, was that really Trump? But, you know, over the weekend, C-SPAN came out and they're like, absolutely not. That was definitely not Mr. Trump. During the time of the phone call, President Trump was actually like hosting a meeting with the governors in the White House. So it could not have been him on the telephone. Plus the call came from like a Virginia phone number. But this guy really did sound like the president. So people have been talking about that like all weekend long.
That makes a lot of sense, and a lot of people clicking on it. Another story, obviously, something that broke over the weekend, yesterday specifically, out of Mexico. I've seen the images on social media, cars on fire, people running for their lives at the airport, thinking there was an attack there. What do we know about what's happening outside in Mexico? And it involves Delta now issuing a travel waiver.
Right. So it's pretty crazy. I've been reading, quite a few stories about it. And in fact, while I was waiting to talk to you, we got an alert on the wire that apparently 25 members of the Mexican National Guard have died since that cartel leader was killed over the weekend. So it's crazy down there. But anyway, get back to Delta. So Delta, of course, has flights there because Delta has flights everywhere. And after all this started happening, they told anyone who was planning on going down there that they were going to issue like a travel waiver. Because right now the U.S. Embassy is literally telling Americans who are already in Mexico to stay inside, to like shelter in place, like do not go anywhere. So Delta, are going to make it easier for people who either have flights to there or who are trying to leave there. They're just going to help them out, whatever the situation is. And it's not just Delta, by the way. I think there's other airlines that are doing the same thing. So that's good. But yeah, it's a pretty crazy situation down there right now.
Yeah, I know they fly to multiple airports. I was at the Guadalajara airport just last month and hearing about this. That's in the Jalisco region, the state of Mexico, Jalisco. And this is where that is like right in the middle of it, Puerto Vallarta and then Guadalajara. So a lot of the stuff happening there certainly scary, and makes sense that the airlines are going to make it easier for people to say, I don't want to go right now. I think it's best. And even the airlines themselves are canceling the flights because they don't want to put their own crews in danger along with everyone else who might be wanting to travel down there. What's another story we're tracking? It has to do with, I think, the Battery Atlanta?
Yes. So apparently a very large group of teenagers took over the battery. And I do believe this was Saturday night. I haven't heard like a firm number on how many teenagers, but it was probably at least hundreds of teenagers. And there may have also been some arrests, although we have not been able to get that confirmed. So anyway, Cobb County Police did know that this was going to happen because there were like some posts on social media before all the teenagers went down there. So they were kind of ready for it. And there were a lot of police out there. And like I said, there may have been some arrests because there's definitely video out there on social media that shows like teenagers sitting on the curb and their hands are in handcuffs. But they could have just been like detained until their parents came to pick them up. Speaking of which, I was like looking at some of the posts on social media, and I was really surprised at like the number of parents who were saying, oh yeah, my kid was there. You know, they just went to hang out and have a good time, and they weren't causing any trouble. And, you know, the police, you know, should have left them alone, and people shouldn't assume that just because they were down there that they were bad kids. And then some other parents were saying, my kid wanted to go, but I didn't let them go. So like I said, we have reached out again to the Cobb County Police because they were ready for this. And we've reached out again to see exactly what happened, to see if anyone was actually arrested or charged, but there were a lot of teens down there.
Mm-hmm. Well, Joyce, thank you so much for an update on the stories that are trending right now on fox5atlanta.com. I do appreciate it. Hope you have a good rest of your Monday.
Thanks.
And as we continue on here for Fox 5 News Live at 1 o'clock, I want to take you to Marietta Square. A longtime favorite in that area is redefining the way it feeds the community. The owners of a local Italian restaurant have transformed their space into Asher and Rose, a modern grocer and cafe. Good Day Atlanta's Paul Milliken, of course, had to check it out, and we sent him to Marietta Square to see what's for breakfast.
Well, I know what you're thinking. Paul Milliken's drinking a cocktail in the morning again, and you're half right. I mean, I do have a drink, but it's a mocktail, everybody, and it's a really good one, too, because there's a good long list of non-alcoholic drinks here at the bar at Asher and Rose. First of all, Chef, what is this? It is so good.
Well, that is our Shirley You Jest. So it is a adult Shirley Temple. Mm-hmm. It's with house-made cucumber bitters, a little bit of the good maraschino cherries, juice in there, soda water, a little bit of our lemon lime soda, lime juice, and then that's it.
And when you poured that cherry juice in there, it was like a nice thick. It was almost syrupy.
Oh yeah, yeah. Those are the good maraschinos. Anybody who's a real drinker, they know these stuff. They're fantastic. Marescas.
This is really good. So let's talk about this. I mean, a lot of people came to Piastra for years because you had a great award-winning wine program. So when you made the decision to pivot and create Asher and Rose, you kind of knew you needed to keep that, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We worked hard. We talked with the city before we decided to do the conversion here to make sure that we were going to be allowed to keep not only the wine but the bar.
Yeah.
And then so the way we made sure we had enough dining space and the kitchen space to be able to keep the entire bar for a private dining room as well.
Yeah, and the bar area is so beautiful too. Now, what makes your program award-winning? What is it about the wines you carry that makes you unique?
Oh, I was going to say we just pay people off. No, actually,
that's my style of business, my friend.
That's not far from it. Actually, it is Wine Spectator. It is you have to enter for it. There's 3 different tiers.
Cool.
First tier, which is what we have. Yeah. You have to have a minimum of 90 bottles, and you have to hit certain criteria. There has to be a certain spread and all of that. So we make sure that we hit that, as well as our cocktail program, all handcrafted. We make everything here for our syrups and things along those lines. And then we have an extensive zero ABV program.
Yeah, I want to talk about this because we know so many people, especially younger people now, they're not drinking at all, but they still want something special when they go out. So you've got these like non-alcoholic spirits down here, right?
Yes. So some of these are spirits. Some of them are based after traditional spirits, like Seedlip or Lear's. Those are both based after spirits. They are completely zero ABV, so they're distilled water with other flavorings put in it. And then you have stuff that's not based off of a spirit, like the Amethyst, which which completely has nothing to do with what a spirit was like. So you can get both sides, because you have people who want nothing that has any reminder of what alcohol was, and others who don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I love that you guys have that. Okay, final question. So we've got your mother, Betty, of course, who's sitting there. Wait, wave to the camera. Wave to the camera, Betty. There she is. Okay, and then we've got you, Greg. Now, who are Asher and Rose?
That's my middle name and Mom's middle name.
Oh, I love that.
So I'm Rose. That's Asher. No, I'm kidding.
Of course
I'm kidding.
it is. Yep. You know I'm going to call you Greg Rose. Greg Rose, make me another cocktail.
There
all right.
we go. There we
Wonderful. All right. Well, again, this is Asher and Rose. Many things. A beautiful bar. It's a full cafe with breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and a grocery store over there. All open now in Marietta. Cheers.
Paul, it seems like a good place to add to the list to go check out. Thanks for that look inside. For more Good Day Atlanta segments, you can head to our website, fox5atlanta.com, and just click on the Good Day tab. We still have a lot more ahead here on Fox 5 News Live at 1 o'clock. Some of the smallest humans are already learning about the engineering field. We'll take you live to show you all about it just ahead. And welcome back to Fox 5 News Live at 1 o'clock. The future of engineering might be sitting in a preschool classroom. The learning experience in Alpharetta is teaching children as young as 3 the fundamentals through its Little Engineers program. Let's check in with Fox 5's Chris Rosenthal, who is there.
We're at Miss Shanti's class here at the Learning Experience Preschool. This group of 3 and 4-year-olds here, they look like they're having a good time playing, but it's a little more than that. They're part of a Little Engineers program designed to give them a bit of a leg up in the science world and the engineering world that they may be going into when they go into school. They get to work with these really cool little kits. Let me give you a quick look here. These are some of the kits that they get to work with. They get to graduate from kit to kit. This one here, they get to learn about friction, and this one building, and this one they get to learn about floating and buoyancy. But they're working with this kit here today, and again, just really gives these kids a good sense of science and engineering terms and concepts, basic albeit. But I talked with Savitha here at the Learning Experience School just about why this program is so important for these young kids.
The concept of Little Engineers was introduced to children to make them more familiarized with the growing concepts of engineering. which can develop more transferable skills in their early life.
I mean, what are the ages of these kids here?
The current age of these children are between 3 and 4 years, but our little engineers is for age birth till 5 years.
I mean, that's just so young, getting them started and getting them the concepts of engineering, but I suppose it's never too soon, huh?
It's never too soon because even children have a lot of curiosity and they learn a lot as well.
And what sort of concepts are they learning here?
They are more learning on the cause and effect and more of problem-solving skills, which builds more of curiosity and also ignites their creativity.
And we got a lot of noise and stuff going on here today. What are they doing today here exactly?
Each children get their own age-appropriate kits. So these are aged between 3 and 4 years, and they have their own individual kit where it's a ramp where they'll be learning more of compare and contrast concept for this week.
Gotcha. And so they have a car and they get to learn a little bit about friction and some of those sort of concepts of.
That's right. So they have 2 different surfaces. So they'll be moving the cars down to understand what happens when the surface is smooth versus what happens when it's a bumpy. It's more of hands-on experience for them where they learn concepts on their own while teacher is helping them with their questions.
Gotcha. And what do they get out of this?
They're learning more of problem-solving skills. They'll be doing the activities individually, sometimes in pair and sometimes in team, which also helps them more of social emotional development and also more of learning on how to problem solve individually versus when they're in team.
When you look at these kids, do you see some potential engineers in here?
Yeah, most of them, yes. Everyone has their own way of exploring the materials, and most at this age, building on the curiosity is a key for us. Curiosity, creativity, problem-solving skills, they are the key for us.
So this program runs about 17 weeks, and they have about 97 children from infant to kindergarten all participating. I'll tell you, looks like they're having a lot of fun and also learning quite a bit. Back to you.
And I think a lot of people would be interested in something like that, especially for their kids, getting them started early. That makes a lot of sense. That way, maybe they do end up deciding that that's something they want to do. They can start very early. Maybe they don't know exactly what they're doing. It's all fun and games, but eventually that could be something that could be great for them. And I want to talk about another story that is going to be happening in Athens today. Country music star Megan Maroney is returning to her roots for a surprise performance at an Athens arena today, showcasing hits from her latest album, Cloud 9. Maroney took to Instagram to announce her show at the Atkins Ford Arena on Monday, that's today, where she will play every song from her newest record, which just dropped on February 20th, 3 days ago. Tickets are $9 and will benefit the Megan Maroney Foundation, which focuses on combating bullying and raising mental health awareness. A limited number of tickets will be held back for an online sale, which started just about 54 minutes ago through Maroney's website. Tickets purchases are non-refundable. All guests must show a valid ID that matches the name of the purchaser for online transactions. If you're going, doors open at 6:30 p.m. with the show set to start at 8 p.m. And so what she did, she posted online on social media saying, "Athens, I am coming home tomorrow to play the entire album top to bottom. I can't wait." This is part of a 9 cities, 9 days tour. Maroney will perform in 9 cities nationwide. After her stop here in Athens, she'll be in Newport, Kentucky, Kansas City, Missouri, Denver, Colorado, Salt Lake City, Utah, and Scottsdale, Arizona. And as we come back into our studio here, you heard from Jonathan at the top of our hour where he was talking about just the weather that we're seeing here. We're cold. Thankfully, the shot we're about to show you, not anything like we're experiencing here. It is truly a snow lover's dream in Central Park in New York City. Let's take a live look there. Look at some kids doing a snowman as they're getting ready to, enjoy this blizzard day out there. Lots of folks taking apart. I mean, in New York City alone, we are looking at somewhere around 17 inches of snow since the blizzard started last night. It started falling, I think, at about 7 or 8 o'clock, and it has just kept falling ever since. We've been seeing winds and all of that. And while it looks like fun in Central Park to have that snow, people are walking around, some people using umbrellas, I can see. Unfortunately, though, for people trying to travel, it is causing lots of problems, lots of delays and cancellations out of JFK, LaGuardia, Newark, and pretty much every airport up and down the eastern seaboard. I know Boston's also having problems, which is affecting our airport here. I think we're thankful. I'm bringing in Ariel Onstadt now. I think we're thankful that we're not there.
Tyler, I've heard a lot of people complain about how cold it is today, and yes, it is cold, but we're not dealing with that.
Exactly.
You know, I think a lot of us at this point, we're ready for spring, and yeah, this is something else.
We had our snow and our ice in January.
Yes.
They can have it.
And it's so funny because I hear so many people talking about how this was a really rough winter and how it was so cold, and don't get me wrong, like it was in January. Like we had 70, 80 degrees around Christmas time. Winter in Georgia apparently is January, so you can't complain.
Yeah, I mean, what is it, 36 degrees right now? Look at my watch. Not that bad.
No, not that bad. What we have coming up here at 2 o'clock, I want to tell you a little bit about it because we've got a lot of stories to get to. Of course, we're going to be covering the latest in the Colin Gray trial. We know that the mother of accused high school shooter Colt Gray testified, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the latest with a deadly fire in Cobb County. We've got a lot of stories to get to, and of course, that crazy situation unfolding in Mexico with a cartel leader's death.
And also, you're going to be hearing from Laken Riley's mom, correct? She talked to the White House today?
She did, and that's something that we're going to listen to. The president made a proclamation basically honoring victims of people who have been hurt or killed, was the language, by people who are here in the United States illegally.
Yeah, 2 people survived, 60 others have been killed by illegal immigrants, according to the White House. So that was all about that proclamation today. You can hear about all of these stories coming up on Fox 5 News Live at 2 o'clock. Ariel Onstadt will be taking over. Stick with us. We're back in just 2 minutes.
Welcome in, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for being here with us on your Monday afternoon. We have a lot of news to get to today, and one of the stories I want to start with involves a deadly fire out of Cobb County. Let's get into it, because as of right now, we know 3 people are dead and several hurt. This happened just earlier this morning, or rather a late night fire, and has continued into the morning hours, this situation. Firefighters had to use ladders to evacuate residents trapped on second-story balconies, and about 30 people are being helped by the Red Cross and a local church, because this was an all-out effort trying to get these flames put out. You can see water pouring, gushing over those steps as firefighters tried to tackle the blaze. We know that at least 6 people, including a child, were hospitalized with life-threatening injuries. We were informed just about after 7 o'clock this morning that 3 people had died. Now, we don't know any more about the victims just yet. We are expecting to get more from our Annie Map here coming up in the 3 o'clock hour about this situation. But this is a apartment complex on Woodsong Way, and firefighters work tirelessly to try to save people's lives. But at this point, the American Red Cross and a local church are trying to help those families who have nowhere to go. I'd like to also continue with another story we continue to follow here, as it is day 6 of the trial for Colin Gray. And at this point, our Kevin Stewart is in the courthouse there in Cobb County working to get more information. Kevin, I know you've sat in this morning, and we heard testimony from Colt Gray's mother today. What's been happening in the courtroom? Catch us up to speed, please.
Yeah, let's put it all in perspective here. Marcee Gray and Colin Gray, the defendant, are estranged. They are still married, but they are separated. And what she's done is try to paint a picture of what was going on in that household, in that family's life. And it was quite troubling. Lots of allegations that are going on there. And she tried to say how what was going on after the split, that primarily that Colt's life was not great and got worse after the split. And she said how sometimes the child lived with her and sometimes he lived with his dad, but truthfully, she says, in her words, he really went downhill after the split, but she tried to help, whereas the husband did not. Take a listen. All right. Well, she did say that there was an opportunity to where they did basically. She tried to help and try to get him help in inpatient therapy, and that the Colt was excited about that. But the prosecution asked, "Hey, you know, was that something that the father, the defendant here, was very interested in?" And she said that he really didn't seem that interested in it when she would try to bring it up. Ariel?
Yeah, Kevin, it's really interesting to get her perspective. I feel like that's something that a lot of people who have been covering this trial, watching this trial closely, have been wondering is, were we going to hear from his mother, and what was that home life and family situation like? Do you feel like this provided any insight for you as the reporter covering this? Do you feel like it gave you a deeper picture as to the situation that was unfolding?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's really going to be important, this cross-examination going on right now, keep in mind the prosecution is alleging that the defendant bought the gun for his son, knowing he had all these problems, and they're basically saying that he bears some responsibility here. But on cross-examination, the defense attorney said, well, what did you actually do, particularly as we got closer towards that fatal day back in 2024 when 4 people were shot and killed and 7 others injured at Appalachia High School. Ariel? Yeah,
Kevin, it's going to be really interesting. We've been watching the prosecutors try to show this argument that Colin Gray, father of Colt Gray, bought his son that weapon and didn't do enough to try to prevent this tragedy from unfolding, according to the prosecutors. We're getting that sense of how the defense is trying to undermine that argument, and no doubt, whichever way this shakes out, it's going to set a precedent.
Yeah, this has been a very interesting trial. I've been up here for 2 days, and the mom was supposed to actually testify on Friday, but she got here late, and so they decided to call court off for early for the day, and she got here promptly early today and had been on the stand ever since. And as I noted, cross-examination started probably in the last, 10 minutes maybe. So that's going to be really interesting to see how the defense takes this on. We also understand that Colt's little sister is also eventually going to testify. I don't know if that's going to happen today or tomorrow, but she is expected to take the stand. This is going to be really crucial in terms of getting a good picture of what was going on in that house. As I noted earlier, definitely a very troubled situation. The mom detailed all the problems her child was having, how angry he was and how he was destructive, breaking doors, glass windows, and we've heard testimony previously that was also reiterated today, how he looked up online in school how to kill your dad. So definitely a lot going on.
Yeah, Kevin, very tragic, no doubt. I appreciate your perspective, letting us know what to expect as this trial continues forward. I'll let you get back in the courtroom and continue to listen. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. Appreciate it. As we continue, guys, I want to let you know about a situation that unfolded over the weekend when a large group of teenagers gathered at the Battery here. Check it out. You're seeing video we were able to capture from this situation. And at this point, really the concern was that this large crowd of teens was there unsupervised. And social media is a big factor in what led a lot of these teenagers to get together and go to the Battery altogether. Police preemptively increased their presence after learning of the meetup through online posts, and they had to disperse a rather large crowd. Over 100 teenagers were gathered there near the Battery. Several were kicked off the property by police officers. And what this has done, we've seen this happen before at Atlantic Station and now at the Battery there. And what this has done is really increase calls from community members and the police about increased parent vigilance, saying that guardians and parents need to be more aware of where their children are going and who they're gathering with when all of this is happening. But ultimately, this large-scale meetup ended without any large major incident, but it is something significant in that it marks a second large youth gathering at an entertainment district, and police did have to disperse a few people, and so that is something that we're going to continue to monitor. Several attendees were reportedly removed from the property during the police response, but overall this did unfold without major incident. As we continue, I want to let you know about something you've no doubt seen video on social media of the crazy situation that's unfolding in Mexico right now. We've learned that Mexican officials have taken out a powerful cartel leader. And at this point, there are a lot of people there who are really, really concerned, both locals there on the ground as well as tourists who are trying to figure out how to get home. And I want to talk about the area where this is. This is Western Mexico. This is where violence has erupted as Mexican forces took out a powerful cartel leader in a United States-backed operation. Mexico's defense ministry says the head of Jalisco's New Generation cartel was wounded during a shootout in his home state of Jalisco. He later died while being flown to Mexico City. The Mexican military was trying to capture him, and the White House confirms the United States did provide intelligence to this mission. Known as El Mencho, Nemesio Ruben Oseguera Cervantes was 59 years old and the boss of one of the fastest growing criminal networks in Mexico. He was one of the United States and Mexico's most wanted criminals. And the J&G cartel, J&G short for Jalisco New Generation, is notorious for trafficking fentanyl, methamphetamines, cocaine, and other drugs here to the United States. You can see the wanted poster there for that man. And the J&G cartel is also notorious for staging brazen attacks against government officials there in Mexico who spoke out against the cartel. At least 25 members of Mexico's National Guard have died in 6 separate attacks since this operation. And really, one of the things that authorities there in Mexico are saying is that cartel leaders retaliated after El Mencho's death by setting fire to vehicles and buildings airlines there within the area of Jalisco, the state of Jalisco, the cities in western Mexico, thinking Guadalajara, Puerto Vallarta, different areas that they're looking at. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum is urging calm as school was canceled in several Mexican states. The U.S. Embassy in Mexico is advising all U.S. citizens in the country to shelter in place. No doubt you've seen some people who have been posting online that they have not been able to get home just yet. One tourist sheltering at a resort in Puerto Vallarta is sharing her experience as to what has been unfolding.
The vibes changed really fast, right? Yesterday was a beautiful, wonderful Puerto Vallarta vacation day. And then today just feels very eerie and very like vacant looks from the staff, like asking them if their families are okay, you know, just trying to figure out how do we get out of here and are we safe here?
Well, at this time, the U.S. Embassy is still urging people to shelter in place and to be safe as the situation unfolds. And because of this, we've seen a lot of airlines cancel flights to parts of Mexico. We've seen this from Delta, United Airlines, and others. Numerous airlines diverting or canceling their flights to Puerto Vallarta, Guadalajara there in western Mexico. Delta Airlines has issued travel waivers, and if you have a flight to any of these cities here in western Mexico, check your airline's app to see the most up-to-date information. We'll continue to keep you updated as this situation unfolds. But coming back here a little closer to home, I want to let you know about something that is unfolding on with our state legislature. So do you know when you get pulled over by a cop, a lot of times you may not know here in the state of Georgia which side of the road to go to. You may think, okay, I know getting to the right is safer, but a new bill might actually make it illegal if you don't do that. Let's get out to our Deidre Dukes, who joins us live. And Deidre, we were having this conversation in our editorial meeting this morning, and I think some of us didn't realize, oh, it's not illegal to not pull over to the right side, but a new bill might make this so. So why is that? Why is this important?
That's right, Ariel. And a lot of people simply don't know that that's not already illegal, right? And it's one of those things where, you know, let's be frank, you know, you're getting pulled over by a cop. You see those flashing lights. A lot of folks, they get nervous, they get anxious. You know, just imagine you're on the interstate and there's traffic, you know, all over the place going past you very quickly. What do? Well, when you've got several lanes of traffic, a lot of times what you'll find some people do is they simply pull over to that left shoulder, even though we have all seen when people do that just how dangerous it is, just, you know, as even we pass them by. Now imagine they're on the left shoulder and then you've got a police officer right behind them trying to safely talk to them, you know, see what the situation is with them after they stop them. Well, it's not illegal now, but a state lawmaker hopes that through his legislation it will become illegal to pull over to the left-hand side, the left shoulder there, because of course they want you to pull over all the way to the right shoulder so that you can pull well off the roadway if at all possible, and then that law enforcement officer who stops you can safely approach your vehicle and interact with you. And so this bill has passed the House. It did pass the House here recently, almost overwhelmingly. It has bipartisan support, and we talked to the person who sponsored the legislation, and here's why he said he thinks it's so important for this bill to become law.
It was inspired and actually brought to me by Gwinnett County Police Department because they, and we found out many other law enforcement entities throughout the state, had found people kind of stopping in the worst possible places. Sometimes they will stop on the left shoulder in very dangerous situations. Sometimes they will stop in the middle of the road, and that creates a lack of safety for everyone.
And unfortunately, Ariel, we have seen situations where it's not even someone stopping on the left shoulder, but just here in Atlanta traffic, and also, as folks pointed out to us, just, you know, this happens in rural areas as well, where you have people who are involved with distracted driving. They're either on their phone or doing something else in the car. They're not paying attention. You have situations where you have people who are driving while intoxicated. And when you have a law enforcement officer who's either helped to stop to help a motorist, this or who has made a traffic stop there on the roadway, they've gotten hit. We've seen instances where people, motorists, have gotten killed, unfortunately, because you have situations where you have distracted drivers. And so this just really is a way to try to help make the roadway safer for everyone concerned. In fact, the chair of the House Public Safety Committee is a former law enforcement officer. He's one of the individuals who voted for this legislation, and here's what he told us as far as why he thinks it's a great bill.
If you notice now, especially in the metro area, if you have somebody stop, a lot of times you'll see people stop if the officer gets behind them in the left lane or the fast lane. They'll pull in the left-hand emergency lane, and there's a wall there, and so there's really very little room for anybody to navigate. And so trying to make sure they know they need to move all the way over to the right. You'll see a lot of officers now are even approaching from the right side of the vehicle on the interstate because it's so much safer to have that car between them and flowing traffic. I think it just increases the safety, not only for the officers, but for the drivers that are being stopped as well, getting them farther off the road.
And we asked, well, what are the penalties? And we were told that there are no penalties tied to this specific legislation. And really, the bill sponsor says it's really about clarification with aligning the bill. So, we already have laws in place requiring people to pull over, move over to the right hand, to the right when you have emergency vehicles, law enforcement stopped in situations, the move over law. That's what I'm saying, the move over law. So really there is an effort to really just further clarify what the laws are as it pertains to our roadways here in Georgia. And it is hoped that should this bill pass and be signed into law, that people will just become aware of the need to really move over to the right-hand side of the road and to pull over all the way to the right, just to make safer road conditions for everyone involved, Ariel.
Yeah, Deidre, it's so interesting because you would think that would be something people would do naturally, right? But I know that I've definitely, especially when I was a first-time driver, been in situations where I'm so nervous at being pulled over, I don't necessarily think about where I'm going. I just pull off to the quickest, easiest place I can get to. And if I'm closer to the left, maybe I did that as a first-time driver. So it kind of sounds like this bill overall is not so much about penalizing, but more about awareness for all drivers, any level of experience that you're at, to just get over to that right-hand side.
That's right. When you know better, you do better, right?
Amen.
It's just an effort, as you said, to educate and inform. Yes.
It's funny because someone here on our TikTok is actually saying common sense. But one thing I've learned, teacher, about common sense is it's not always common, and different people approach things differently. So, good.
Absolutely.
Good thing to better understand this. So, Deidre, thanks so much for joining us, making sense of this, and no doubt you'll keep us updated as it moves through the legislature. So, thanks so much. Okay, we'll let Deidre get back to information gathering, guys. As we switch gears here, I want to talk a little bit about the man who was shot and killed while allegedly trying to gain access to Mar-a-Lago. Let's discuss, because at this point, a man who was shot and killed over the weekend may have been what authorities are investigating as a third assassination attempt on President Trump. The FBI is looking into it, but it comes as the president is preparing for his State of the Union address tomorrow night. We always see stepped up security around Mar-a-Lago and places where the president may reside ahead of a State of the Union, but this latest incident may just underscore how many potential threats are out there. Palm Beach Sheriff Rick Bradshaw, actually in a news conference, held up a photo of what they recovered and showed that they actually were able to get some supplies. Say that one of the things the sheriff said was some drop items, a gas can and a shotgun. Ultimately, the man identified in this incident is 21-year-old Austin Tucker Martin, and he was, like I mentioned, shot and killed after allegedly trying to gain access to President Trump's property at Mar-a-Lago. But the Palm Beach sheriff says that officers told him to drop the items he was carrying, which was a gas can and a shotgun. He put the gas cans down, and then the sheriff says that he pointed the shotgun at officers. officers, at which point the officers fired their weapons. President Trump was not in Florida at the time. The motive for this is unclear. It is just suspected to be nefarious, but whatever the motive, it could further intensify security preparations ahead of the State of the Union address. Just last week, a 18-year-old Georgia man, like we've been reporting, was arrested after approaching the U.S. Capitol with a shotgun. And complicating efforts, the Department of Homeland Security is now starting its second full week under a funding shutdown, something the president's almost certainly going to talk about in his State of the Union address tomorrow night. We're going to see officials, lawmakers, and many other guests converge on Capitol Hill for that address. And among those guests, there are reports now that the president has invited both the U.S. Olympic men's and women's hockey teams, fresh off of their gold medal wins. So we will be covering that for you. As we continue, another quick story here on what is happening with the White House. We talked a lot on Friday about global tariffs and what is next after the Supreme Court struck down President Trump's tariffs. Well, at this point, the president says that he wants a global tariff of 15%. That's up from the global 10% tariff he had announced after the U.S. Supreme Court's decision. That decision came Friday, like I mentioned, and struck down many of the far-reaching taxes on imports that the president had imposed on nearly every country over the last year. Trump used the emergency powers law for his tariffs, but now he plans to use a different, albeit more limited, legal basis or law for his as a legal authority for his tariffs. The president's already signed an executive order enabling him to bypass Congress and impose a 10% tax on imports that actually starts tomorrow, the same day as the State of the Union address. But those tariffs are limited to only 150 days unless the legislature extends them. So Congress would have to vote and pass a law extending those tariffs. Otherwise, they are set to expire after 150 days. As we continue, guys, I want to bring you back here and update you on our weather forecast, let you know what to expect. No doubt it is cold outside, and a lot of you might be wondering when we're finally going to see spring and when things are going to warm up. We're going to check in with meteorologist Jonathan Stacey about that coming up next. Welcome back in, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstad. Thanks so much for being here. It is cold outside, no doubt. Let's send it over to meteorologist Jonathan Stacey for a check of your weather forecast.
It's quite a chilly start to the work week, and then that chill is being reinforced by some restless winds. Those winds will continue to gust today up towards 30 miles an hour, maybe even 40 miles an hour in some cases. Therefore, your wind chills will be the focal point of the forecast Carrying over into tomorrow morning, we'll have wind chills throughout the remainder of the day, even during the prime heating of the day, that are below freezing. We're going to stay dry over the next couple of days, but we'll look out for some rain by midweek. Let's go ahead and run the clock in your hour-by-hour forecast here. Those restless and relentless wind streams continue to come in from the north and the west, and that is really hurting our temperature growth for this Monday. By 4 o'clock, 41 degrees on the thermometer, but it feels like 33 degrees, feeling like 31 in Cornelia, 36 Athens, 39 in Eaton, go up to Rome, 35 degrees, 33 in Carrollton, 35 for LaGrange. And then the sun sets, and this is what you have. You have winds that are starting to back off a bit, but still with a gentle wind and some very cold air, it's going to feel quite frigid out there. Feeling like 25 degrees at the 8 o'clock hour, 23 in Canton, 20 there in LJ, 27 in Rome. It looks like this feels like the numbers are going back down into the teens, especially to the north of the city as we get into your Thursday or your Tuesday. 19 degrees tomorrow morning for a wind chill, 17 in Canton. A soft wind will be going. Of course, we'll have some wind friction here in the Atlanta metro area as a result of all of our big buildings, so those wind tunnels will create a wind chill factor tomorrow morning of 20 degrees, despite the reading saying 26 degrees. But tomorrow ultimately is the turnaround day, and we should begin to thaw out, and we should do it without a problem. The winds will have softened. We'll have plenty of sunshine, a few passing clouds, but overall it's a pretty decent forecast, especially for the second half of the day. It's now 4 o'clock, and you can see here we have cracked the 50-degree mark, made it to around 53 degrees. In fact, 55 for Newton County, go down to Upson County, 55 there, 53 in LaGrange, 52 Cornelia, 50 even in Blairsville. So it looks like everybody across North Georgia will enjoy a really nice and a much-needed warm-up, considering just how cold we were last night into tonight and for the first part of the day tomorrow. In terms of Wednesday, we will have temperatures that are going to be on the mild side, but it's not going to necessarily feel that way by morning. 33 degrees for a feels like temperature, but that wind out of the south and the west will aid and abet the entrance of moisture into the area, and so you'll notice more clouds on Wednesday, and temperatures, they will be back into the 60s for the most part, lower 60s across the area, but that could be blighted by a passing shower or two. Your rain chances for Wednesday are fairly low, but they do spike going into Thursday. A few isolated showers are possible for Wednesday, but it looks like the best chance for rain comes Thursday. That rain sticking around through the overnight hours, possibly mixing in with a rumble of thunder by Friday. Here's a look at your Fox 5 Storm Team 7-day forecast here. We're not going to be cold for long, but it's going to endure at least for the next 36 hours. We'll turn the temp down to 26 degrees tonight, making it back to the low 50s tomorrow. Still below average for Tuesday, but above average by Wednesday, with clouds and rain taking center stage for the second half of the work week.
Thanks, Jonathan, for keeping us updated on what to expect. As we continue, you guys, we're going to go out to Tucson, Arizona, and get the latest on the status of the investigation into Nancy Guthrie. And if there are stories you guys want to see covered here locally, things that I'm missing that you want to know more about, just let me know, and I'll see if I can get them in as we continue here at 2 o'clock. Welcome back in, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for being here. It is week 4 officially now that the search for Nancy Guthrie has entered. And at this point, investigators are pursuing several leads to try to figure out who might be a suspect in this case. Fox's Rebecca Castor joins us live from Tucson. Rebecca, thank you so much for being here. Can you tell me a little bit about if we expect any updates soon? Is there any update on when officials might be able to provide another briefing? Have you heard anything?
So currently, the sheriff does not have any press conferences planned for this week, but they said that would change if there are any significant updates. We are at week 4, as you mentioned, and at this point, authorities have not been able to identify a person of interest, no suspect, or even vehicle connected to this case. But as you mentioned, they are still pursuing several leads, hoping to identify the man seen on that door camera video.
Rebecca, I'm curious about why it's taking so long to isolate the DNA that has been found in this case. Do we know what the process looks like and why it's going to take the time that we expect so long?
Yes, so the sheriff did provide a little bit of an update on that. He mentioned that authorities, or forensic investigators, I should say, they're having trouble isolating the mixed DNA found at the crime scene. They were expecting the DNA would be mixed, which means that it's DNA from at least 2 people, possibly more. So forensic scientists have to try to separate this. But I will say, and I also just learned this, if they are able to separate at least part of the sample, you can put a partial sample through FBI databases, and it could still bring up a match. So they might try to do that. That's probably underway right now if they have been able to separate any of the DNA. But of course, the hope is that you're able to separate the whole sample and get, as close to a full sample of DNA as possible.
That's so interesting, Rebecca. As we're looking at this, have they been able to say how many, and maybe the forensic evidence hasn't gotten this far along yet, but have they been able to say how many profiles of DNA they found? I know there was some on the glove, some in the home, and at last check, I don't believe those 2 matched. Is there any word on how many profiles they found?
No update on that yet. As you said, all we know right now is that the DNA sample that was found on the glove, outside Nancy's home, does not match the DNA sample that was found inside the house. The DNA that was found on the glove outside the house, that was a full sample. It wasn't mixed DNA. That's the one that got no hits on the FBI databases. So that's what they were also going to start putting through that genetic genealogy testing. But it's going to take investigators more time to work on isolating the DNA inside for it to really be worth putting through some of these databases.
Well, Rebecca, thank you so much for your feedback and letting us know where things stand. It's kind of a final question to you here. Any word on how the Guthrie family's doing?
So, of course, without talking to them directly, that's really hard to say. But I will note that it's been more than a week since Savannah Guthrie has posted any video online. At the start of this story, her and her siblings were posting pretty consistently, and it seemed like they were really trying to speak directly to the kidnapper. So it will be interesting if we are able to find out if they have established a private line of communication with Nancy Guthrie's potential captors off of social media. We're not getting any reporting on that yet, and the FBI still hasn't been able to confirm whether any of those ransom notes that were sent to media outlets are legitimate. So we just don't know much more on that at this point.
Rebecca, thank you so much for the status update. I really appreciate your time and letting us know where things stand. We'll see you back here in the 3 o'clock hour, but I'll let you go. Thank you so much for joining us live. I appreciate it. As we continue, you guys, I want to take a moment to just go through our comments here on TikTok and YouTube and see if you guys have anything you're curious about. Someone's asking how the Latin communities are doing today, and if you're talking about what's unfolding in Mexico, if you mean something different, let me know. But we were talking about the situation in Mexico just a little bit earlier. and it is a very tense and evolving situation. As you know, Mexican authorities took out a cartel leader, one of the most wanted both in the United States and here in the United States and in Mexico. And at this point, cartel leaders have retaliated, burning buildings and cars. We don't have any word yet on civilians who might have been killed in the violence. We do know some Mexican National Guards members were killed. As I get more information about the status of civilians there on the ground, I'll be sure to let you know. At this point, a lot of tourists are stranded and sheltering in place, if you will, trying to be safe. But if you're concerned, of course, for people who are on the ground there, who live and work there, a lot of them were not able to get to work today. There's some stuff I was reading here with the Associated Press talking a little bit about how in certain areas, as this was happening in Jalisco, a lot of people weren't sure what to do because of the tense situation that was unfolding. So as I get more information, I'll be sure to let you know. As we continue here a little closer to home, I do want to let you know that the White House is honoring Laken Riley. President Trump actually signed a National Angel Day proclamation, and it designates February 22nd as a National Angel Family Day, which means this day is going to honor families and or survivors and victims who've been harmed or killed by immigrants here in the United States illegally. The date was chosen to remember Georgia's own Laken Riley, who was killed February 22nd, 2024, while out jogging. Now, Riley's mother, Allison Phillips, was there during this proclamation, and she actually spoke at the event. So I'll let you listen to what she had to say.
Well, this is unexpected, but I think that a lot of people feel like that President Trump is maybe different than the version that I've gotten to know. And I just can't thank you enough. You have said from the beginning, literally the day after this happened, that you would not forget about Laken. You weren't president at that time, and you have not forgotten. You have fought a fight that most people would not want to have to fight. Most people wouldn't. They would just say it's just easier not to do this. And President Trump you are doing a thankless job that most people just wouldn't do. And I just can't thank you enough. There are just not enough words to say. Because if you lived the nightmare that we have lived, you understand the importance of the job that he's doing and securing our nation and fighting for our families. Because this could be any family. This happened to my family. This could be any one of your families. And Laken was the most responsible, hardworking, kind, selfless, beautiful Christian. And she wasn't somebody that put herself in bad positions. She didn't make bad choices. She was just a good girl. And she just wanted to go for a run that morning after she'd gotten up at 4 o'clock the morning before to decorate her roommate's door for her birthday. And she did everything for everyone else. She expected nothing in return. She just wanted to be a good friend and a good sister and a good daughter and a hardworking nurse. She was working so hard for. And I'm beyond blessed and thankful that you're honoring not just Laken, because she's one in a ton of people that have suffered at the hands of illegal immigrants. She's not the only one. And so thank you for honoring all of them, not just Laken. And we're just beyond grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Among the first bills I signed into law after taking office last year was the Laken Riley Act. I'm so proud of it. To ensure illegal alien criminals are rapidly removed from the United States of America, if that's okay with the media. That bill has already been really playing a big role in the life of our country. It's resulted in over 21,000 illegal alien arrests, 21,000. So Laken's story is even more tragic because her death was completely preventable. This shouldn't have happened. Guy should never have been here. They protect criminals with a vengeance. They fight for these criminals like murderers. They're protecting murderers. They fight for them so hard. There's something wrong with them. We're joined today by so many angel families who are grieving a terrible loss. They've gone through hell. You know, when countries fill up the caravans, they don't fill them up with their finest. I wouldn't. And I would do exactly what they did if the United States would be willing to take all of our criminals and people, or people that don't work. But they are smart people. I got to know most of those leaders. I know them. I said, what are you doing? They said, look, it was a totally open border.
So you're listening to President Trump and Laken Riley's mother as they signed this proclamation. The president signed this earlier today, and Laken Riley's mother spoke. We wanted to show you this as, you know, this has been a story that's captured many here in Georgia, the attention of many here in Georgia. This will be a story we continue to follow. And as we continue, I want to let you know about something unfolding on Capitol Hill because the Farm Bill, U.S. Farm Bill, is back up for debate. And in case you don't know what the Farm Bill is, it is a major omnibus, multi-year piece of legislation that governs agricultural, food, and conservation policies here in the United States. It's typically up for debate every 5 years, and at this point, that bill is back up for debate this coming week. As the House Agricultural Committee is marking it up, let's discuss how it's going to affect Americans, because if you thought it simply applied to farmers, being that it's called the Farm Bill, think again. Agricultural experts say that this complex piece of legislation impacts nearly everyone, from those who buy groceries to those who care about conservation or those who rely on nutritional assistance programs. And SNAP has historically been included in the Farm Bill. One ag policy specialist, Bill Lubin, says much of the Farm Bill has already passed Congress, including changes to SNAP that were in the 2025 budget bill, also known as the One Big Beautiful Bill. But still, there are several remaining Farm Bill items left to go here, and that includes the popular conservation program. Things like trade promotion, research funding, and rural development programs are all included within this bill. And so House Agricultural Chair G.T. Thompson says the latest bill provides modern solutions for modern challenges, insisting that this Farm Bill renewal is long overdue. But in the meantime, Annie Craig, the ranking member on the House Agricultural Committee, is criticizing the bill. She actually says it fails to meet the moment for farmers and working people. So kind of giving you both sides of the aisle there. She and the farmers she represents are pushing for a 15% ethanol blend, which is basically gas blended with corn, to be sold at gas stations year-round, not just the summer blend. The latest bill also includes a provision that might not sit well with the Make America Healthy Again base of the GOP, and that's because it calls for preventing states and courts from being able to penalize pesticide makers for not including warnings on labels. So that's something that some want to see change. As we continue here at 2 o'clock, I want to give you an update here internationally on a story that we continue to monitor with the ever-evolving situation in Iran. Iran actually is saying just today that it vows to respond to any United States strike. This comes ahead of a third round of talks being held between the United States and Iran this week. Iran's foreign ministry spokesman made those comments at a briefing in Tehran, and you can see video from that here. And this comes in response to reports that President Trump might be considering a limited strike to force Iran to agree with a deal with the United States. Military buildup in the region has been mounting while these rounds of nuclear talks with Tehran have been held. One thing that the minister also said is that the presence of military forces from several European countries in the region would be regarded as a terrorist organization. So we will continue to keep you updated on the ever-evolving situation in the Middle East. As we look ahead, coming up next, I want to get you a check of some health stories here in Georgia, where we stand with the measles outbreak that's been growing here in the southeast and where Georgia falls within that. Also going to take you to Atlanta Atlanta's airport, where I'd like to show you a beautiful art exhibit put on by Georgia Tech. Chris Rosenthal is going to introduce that to us coming up next. Welcome in, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for being here at 2 o'clock. You know, it's cold here in Georgia, but it could be worse. We could be dealing with what folks are seeing up in the Northeast. Absolutely crazy, because snow is piling up across a lot of northeastern states. Historic storms have intensified, especially today, and it's been snowing for 24 hours straight, if you can believe it. Across the region, officials are seeing record snowfall because of this powerful bomb cyclone that's barreling through. More than 40 million Americans are under blizzard warnings. Heavy and dense snow combined with high winds is putting a strain on power lines, leaving more than 500,000 throughout the region there without power. And this is really across the East Coast. 100,000 of those outages are in the state of New Jersey alone. The snow's leading to low visibility and near whiteout conditions in some areas. Many states have proactively suspended mass transit systems and enacted travel bans. Even the popular delivery app DoorDash has suspended service in New York City just because drivers can't really get around with all the snow. New York's mayor has asked people to stay home, stay inside, and off of the roads. Stormy conditions are not stopping some tourists, however, from enjoying some of this winter weather. We know a couple that Fox News talked to traveling from the UK was on vacation with their grandchild, and they had made it just in time for that historical blizzard and said that they were going to make the best of the situation and play with their grandchild in the snow. But for those at the airport, it is not so magical. A lot of people are dealing with flight delays, cancellations. Tens of thousands of flights have been disrupted, and that's going to continue through tomorrow. So as this continues, if you're flying, you just got to bear with it until it passes. And of course, you can always find the latest updates in your travel app for your specific airline to figure out what is going to be going on with your flight. Here closer to home, though, I want to tell you what we're seeing with measles here in the state of Georgia, because a second case of the measles has now been confirmed, this time in Bryan County. And Bryan County says health officials there in Bryan County say that this person was reportedly unvaccinated and had traveled out of state before contracting the virus. But ultimately, this is something that a lot of public health officials are becoming increasingly concerned about, because measles was a illness that for the most part had been eradicated. And at this point, with these outbreaks, that status is being threatened. So this is something that we're going to continue to monitor. Symptoms for the measles typically show up 7 to 14 days after exposure. They include a high fever, cough, runny nose, watery eyes, and you can see a tiny rash of red spots can appear on your head, your skin, and spread to the rest of the body. Measles is highly contagious and typically spreads when someone coughs or sneezes, and air droplets can stay in the air or on a surface for up to 2 hours after an infected person has left. So keep that in mind. And finally, here in the state of Georgia, one thing that some advocacy groups are doing is pushing lawmakers here in Georgia for more Medicaid waivers. Several Georgia nonprofits are set to advocate for this. They really want to help people living with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And this is something that Parent to Parent of Georgia said the governor is proposing 100 waivers. They want to see that waiver increase to 1,200. Parents can sometimes wait for years for a waiver to be approved. And if this affects you or you know someone who's gone through this, you know how frustrating it can be and just how long the process can take. But this is something that advocacy groups are really trying to help families who are dealing with this. They want to make sure that people have the waivers they need for their families. So one thing to keep in mind is that a day of advocacy is going to be held at the state capitol on March 4th. So if you're invested in that and you want to show up and participate, you can. You can also find more information on Georgia's website. Parent to Parent says about 14,000 people are participating in these NOW and COMP waiver programs. They're trying to get these extensions, and of course, if you'd like to get involved, you can do so. As we continue here at 2 o'clock, I want to tell you about a art exhibit that is at Atlanta's airport currently. It's on display, and what makes this so unique is that it's blending artificial intelligence with creativity. Chris Rosenthal's out there joining us live, and Chris, I'm really curious to see what this looks like.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. You know, at the airport, you know, we all come through here and it's hustle and bustle and we're all moving and trying to get to our planes. But there's actually quite a lot of art to see, about 26 exhibitions throughout the airport. They say they have about 1,000 pieces of art just, you know, on hand and on display here. But this is one of the newest pieces of art displays here in the T terminal here at the airport that the airport's put in partnership with Georgia Tech. And I am joined by Bernie Robert here with Georgia Tech. And tell me, I mean, this whole wall, this actually goes a few sections here. How did this come to be here?
Yeah, so I'm Bernie, and I was lucky to curate this exhibit on behalf of Georgia Tech. And it's a partnership between Hartsfield-Jackson and Georgia Tech. And the airport's mission is to bring art and well-being into the lives of their employees and their travelers, which they see almost 300,000 travelers per day. And so Georgia Tech also wants to bring our research, as it has to do with creativity and art and science and technology, into a civic space such as the airport. And so our mission's really aligned for this exhibit. And it's called Transport, Transform, Transcend.
And the artists involved, these are faculty members?
Yeah, so a lot of these artists are faculty members from Georgia Tech. And we have two pieces that are outcomes of collaborations, one with Georgia State University and another with Kennesaw State University. And so there's 10 artists and researchers focused, and the theme is having to do with movement, whether that's physical, virtual, or cultural ways of movement through AI-powered dance, as you'll see here, or robotic percussion, but all using movement as a catalyst for transformation.
The airport's a place of movement, huh?
Yes.
So this is really cool. I'm going to step right here. This is an interactive. It's not just for people to look at. Tell me what this is doing here.
Yeah, so Lumen AI, it's using AI to kind of learn off of your dance moves, and this is where they partnered with Kennesaw State University in their dance department. department to learn on traditional dance moves. And then Georgia Tech engineers developed this AI to really improvise with you. So it's not only just a tool to help you write or generate an image, but it's really a dance partner, blurring the boundaries between machine and human.
Yeah, and I'm not really a dancer, but I can see it's like following what I do, and my partner there is kind of interacting with me. I don't know if my partner's happy with me there, but kind of interesting. And a couple of other things here. Let's just go down the line here a little bit here.
Yeah, so this piece is taking a traditional bike, which is used to get from point A to point B, and turning it and transforming it into a musical instrument. So this piece is developed to move with a fleet of bikes from Edison, these battery-powered bikes. So sustainability is a key theme in this piece, and to play electronic music wherever you are, so you don't need power or generators. So it's an innovative way of experiencing movement, and that research is going on at Georgia Tech.
Gotcha. Maybe one more. We'll take a look at this guy here. This is what is this contraption here?
So yeah, this work is through the Robotic Musicianship Lab, and this piece is really an early prototype of robotic percussionists, and so it's using machine learning based on traditional powwow music, and then improvising with it and becoming again this blur between machine and musician, and innovating music and using technology as just a tool for creativity
and learning along the way. And I've noticed a lot of people stopping. The time we've been here, a lot of people stopping and looking at this. All along the way. What do you hope people get when they get out of this, when they come through here and see this?
Yeah, I hope people leave feeling inspired, and that science and technology can be experienced not only through reading about it in published papers and the news, but through embodied experiences such as an art exhibit that the Atlanta Airport art team helps make possible for Georgia Tech.
Wonderful. Bernie, thanks for joining us. Thanks for giving me the tour and the walkthrough of this. There's a lot more to this even to see. It goes down several different panels along the way, but definitely the interactive one is definitely one of the most popular exhibits here to see. So really cool. I mean, stop and take a look when you're on the way rushing to your next flight or rushing to the gate.
Chris, I can see why this would be popular. It seems like a lot of fun. Very briefly, right before I let you go, where is this located again, in case someone wants to check it out?
Yeah, this is in the T gate.
T gate, got it.
Course. So
perfect.
Yep. It's over by
real close.
Right by T13 to be specific.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate the update and introducing us to this art exhibit. You guys, as we continue here at 3 o'clock, we've got some news stories coming up for you guys. I want to check in on the latest of that deadly fire in Cobb County. Our Annie Mapp is on top of that story for us. We also may be getting a news conference here in the 3 o'clock hour, and we'll be sure to bring that to you live as we continue if we're able to do so. We'll see you here in just a few minutes. Welcome in, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for being here with us live at 3 o'clock. It's a real pleasure to see you. We've got a lot of things to cover here on your Monday afternoon. We're following a news conference here shortly that I hope to be able to bring to you live, and it deals with a man who was found dead at Fair Oaks Park. We're going to get more from a Cobb County chairwoman of the commissioners, Lisa Cupid, and Chief Dan Farrell there here hopefully in just a little bit. As we continue, we'll bring that to you live when I see it begin. But in the meantime, I want to continue here with a story dealing with Cobb County. So this is a very tragic situation because we've learned that 3 people have been found dead in an apartment fire, and ultimately several other people were hurt after this blaze. It took firefighters really a good bit of time to try to get this blaze tackled and put out. One thing that they were doing is using lots of ladders to try to evacuate residents trapped on their second-story balcony. So it gives you an idea of just how scary this situation was. About 30 people are displaced. They're being assisted by the Red Cross and a local church, and ultimately as well, one thing that we initially reported was that 6 people, including a child, were hospitalized with life-threatening injuries. We then later have learned that just after 7 this morning that 3 other people had died. At this time, no information has been released on the victims, but we're hoping to bring you more information on that here soon. Our Annie Mapp has been working to gather more information on this story, and we'll bring it to you here live with her, hopefully in this 3 o'clock hour. As we continue here, though, I want to let you know about an unfolding situation in Mexico, because if you've seen the videos on social media, you've no doubt seen scary pictures out of the western state of Jalisco there in Mexico, as Mexican security forces have taken out a top drug lord, and the violence erupted in the, like I mentioned, in the western part of the state, really sending a lot of people into their homes for safety and a lot of tourists sheltering in place. It was a United States-backed operation there in Mexico, which means the United States has confirmed it provided intelligence to help support the mission. Mexico's defense ministry says the head of the Jalisco New Generation cartel was wounded during a shootout in his home state of Jalisco, but he later died while being flown to Mexico City. The Mexican military was trying to capture him, and like I mentioned, the White House confirmed it provided intelligence to this mission. Known as El Mencho, Nemesio Ruben Oseguero Cervantes was 59 years old and the boss of one of the fastest growing criminal networks in Mexico. He was one of the United States and Mexico's most wanted criminals. The J&G is notorious for trafficking fentanyl, meth, and cocaine to the United States and staging some brazen attacks against government officials in Mexico who challenge the Jalisco New Generation cartel. After El Mencho's death, authorities say cartel members retaliated with violence, setting fire to vehicles and buildings. At last check, at least 25 members of Mexico's National Guard are dead in 6 separate attacks. We're working to learn more about the civilians on the ground who may also be affected by this. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum has urged calm as school has been canceled in several Mexican states, but you can see El Mencho's picture there on your screen. The U.S. Embassy in Mexico is advising all citizens in the country to shelter in place. You can take a listen to what one tourist sheltering in place at a resort had to say about her experience.
The vibe changed really fast, right? Yesterday was a beautiful, wonderful Puerto Vallarta vacation day, and then today just feels very eerie and very like vacant looks from the staff, like asking them if their families are okay, you know, just trying to figure out how do we get out of here and are we safe here?
This situation continues. We'll keep you updated. Really scary for people who live and call Jalisco home, who live in Guadalajara, Puerto Vallarta, and who are trying to make sure that they and their families are safe with this attack. Like I mentioned as well, U.S. Embassy telling all Americans to shelter in place there on the ground. As we continue, guys, I have looked off to my right, and it does look like a news conference is getting underway there in Cobb County. At this point, officials are addressing a man who was found dead in Fair Oaks Park. There's been a lot of speculation on social media about this situation. A lot of people have questioned whether or not this was a suicide or if there was foul play at hand. Let's listen to what officials have to say during this address.
As African Americans, and particularly men, during that historical time has caused many to respond to what is occurring with great disbelief. And I've seen many responses and received correspondence from people who have drawn conclusions about what has occurred here. And it was important when I saw that communication to be able to respond directly to say, I hear you, I understand, and we are sensitive to that here in this county. And we want to see the truth of the matter first for the family, who is deserving of understanding that as they go through their own grief at this time. But it's also important for our community to know the truth. But I don't want us to lose the thought that it's also important to our men and women and law enforcement for them to be able to identify and convey the truth. And I'm asking for some sensitivity for all as we understand the sensitivity of what has occurred. We look forward to uncovering the facts, and I will turn things over quickly to our police chief. But having a lot of misinformation out there in the community is also creating to a great sense of unease about what is occurring, not just to members of our community, but to the family. And I appreciate the heart that our community has, not only as a chairwoman, but being a mom of 2 young black men. We appreciate that heart and concern. I'm asking for them to also appreciate the process that our men and women in law enforcement need to have to be able to bring clarity to everyone with respect to this. And I know that they are doing this with a great deal of thoughtfulness and sensitivity. And we look forward to sharing more with you. And I look forward to our police chief being able to discuss more of the details of the undertaking of his department.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dan Farrell. I'm the Chief of Police for Cobb County Police Department. I do have a short written statement that I will go over with you, and I will open up at the end to answer a few questions. I would like to make one clarification on this, that there are certain details that I will not be able to talk about today. Not that they can't be spoken about in the future, in the near future, but I believe once I finish with my statement, you'll understand that a little bit better. If we have questions that are related to procedures from the police department, when will information become available, why is there a delay in the information, I'm more than happy to answer those questions for you. And so today I really wanted to take a moment and to speak directly to our community and regarding the death investigation involving Kyle. And first, I really want to acknowledge something very clearly, and that this case has created an emotional response, and I understand that. I recognize the historical sensitivities surrounding circumstances like this, and I do not dismiss the weight that carries. The concerns being expressed in our community are real, and I know that they deserve to be acknowledged. From the beginning of this case, it was assigned to our major crimes unit. Our detectives immediately went out, they secured the crime scene. Any death investigation is going to include a very comprehensive process. That includes surveillance review, witness interviews, scene examination, forensic analysis, and a consultation with the medical examiner's office. And that's standard practice on any death investigation. This investigation remains open, and it will remain open until the last investigative step is complete. And the second thing that I really want to address today is transparency. And as the Chief of Police, I believe in transparency. I believe that that is essential for success in a police department. Our community does deserve honest communication, but they also deserve factual information. And at the same time, transparency has to be balanced with investigative integrity and respect for a family. And there are victims involved in these cases, there are families involved in these cases, and as much as the police department wants to be transparent, it's very important that we also be respectful to the victims and the victim's family as we're doing that. It's been a long-standing procedure that we do not release detailed investigative facts until we have first met with the family and informed them. In this incident, There was a little bit of a delay in that because the family was traveling from another country. We have a scheduled meeting where we can walk them through the investigative findings in detail. Out of respect, it would be inappropriate for the police department to share sensitive facts publicly about this case before speaking with the family directly. I do understand that when information is limited, that speculation grows. The social media commentary can certainly amplify the uncertainty, but our responsibility is not really to respond to speculation, it's to follow the evidence and communicate verified facts. You know, in any case where foul play is concerned, to include this investigation, detectives look for indicators, signs of a disturbance, evidence of a struggle, defensive injuries, additional physical evidence from the scene, electronic communications, forensic findings from the medical examiner's office. I can tell you that based on the evidence collected thus far, there have been no indicators that another person was involved in this incident. However, the investigation does still remain active, and we will continue to evaluate all the evidence thoroughly. Our responsibility as a police department is really simple, and that's to conduct a thorough investigation and to be transparent in a responsible and a respectful way, and to treat the family with dignity and respect in all of our investigations. I certainly understand the community wanting to know as much about this case as they can because of the type of case it is. And I apologize for the delay in being able to provide more information. However, as soon as possible, we will try to apply some clarity and some context around this incident. Our thoughts from our police department are with the family during this incredibly difficult time. And, you know, it's a tragedy the way it's happened. We lost the life of a young man. And anytime that happens, it's a tragedy. For our department, we want to find out the truth. We want to know what led up to it, get those facts together, and provide that to the family and provide that to the community so that there's no confusion on exactly what happened in this case. It does take time. As the chief, I do ask for patience from everyone as we're trying to balance being transparent and balance the respect and dignity of a family. And so if you can be patient with us, we would certainly appreciate that. I will open the floor for a couple of questions.
Yes, I may, Chief. So if you could reiterate, please, there is no indication of foul play in this young man's death.
No, sir.
It appears all the evidence gathered thus far is tragically this young man took his own life.
Yes, sir, at this point.
At this point, yeah. I mean, you're still gathering information, but that's the evidence.
Absolutely. And, you know, from everything that we have collected thus far, indicate that he was alone at the time. So there has been not one piece of evidence so far that would indicate that anyone else was there.
Chief, just another point of clarification. You're saying you have not yet met with the family?
Correct.
And when you do, the department will be able to share more specific evidence about what has led you all to?
Correct. I believe we'll be able to provide some more context. And, you know, we had a family member that had to fly in from out of country and make travel arrangements. And they're also making arrangements for their child. And so that meeting should take place in the next day or so as she comes into town, and we can sit down with the family. Once that meeting takes place, we will discuss releasing additional information to the public and put that context around exactly what happened, and I believe that will answer the questions that people actually have been posing.
Yeah, I think you said the word video evidence. Is there any video evidence in this case?
Correct. So there will be video evidence from phones, evidence from witnesses that were there. There's physical evidence that has been collected. So there is a substantial amount of evidence that our detectives have actually collected on this. That has not been shared up to this point because we haven't had time to sit down and talk with the family about that.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I understand real quick, Chief, sorry. So you said the medical examiner is still conducting their investigation into the autopsy. Do we have an estimated time for when that will be completed?
Yeah, they should have preliminary results off of it to have a discussion, but toxicology does take time. But they'll do a physical examination and they'll have their preliminary results back off of that soon. And so our detectives can sit down with the ME's office and they'll get those results.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
So you were listening in there as Chairwoman Lisa Cupid and Chief Dan Farrell in Cobb County are addressing social media speculation and evidence surrounding the death of a man found dead in Fair Oaks Park. This has gotten a lot of attention on social media and on right here within our newsroom as we've continued to cover this situation. Police and leaders there say that there's been a lot of misinformation and they want the chance to be able to do their jobs. And they also say that they need to sit down with this young man's family who was found dead in Fair Oaks Park before sharing some more of that evidence publicly. They believe that there is no foul play surrounding this young man's death, and they believe that he took his own life. However, a lot within the community, a lot of people and community members have been concerned about this, saying based on how this appears, they don't believe that to be true. This is a story we're going to continue to follow and keep you updated on. Like I mentioned, if you're just joining us, the police chief, Dan Farrell, did say they have video evidence, witness evidence, and other evidence that they plan to share, but they need to sit down and speak with the family first and share that evidence with them before they share it with the public. The police chief also said that they're waiting for more information from the medical examiner's office. And once the medical examiner is able to share with them a toxicology report, as well as more details on an official cause of death, they're going to share that with the community as well. But based on how this meeting went today and what this just was, it seems that the leaders in Cobb County are trying to address what they are calling the misinformation surrounding this case. They want to be able to talk about the community's concerns based on how this man was found dead in Fair Oaks Park. And as Chairwoman Lisa Cupid said, she addressed how she feels this looks. She was saying that a young black man was found dead and the manner of his death has been very, very gruesome. And she wants to make sure that the community doesn't have any further fears. And she wants to make sure that the community allows the police time and space to do their job. So, Dream, you're asking a question. You're saying, is this about the young man who was hung? And I want to take the time to answer your question, because for those who are unfamiliar with this story, yes, it centers around a young man who was found dead and in Fair Oaks Park. And this is something that police are continuing to look into. He was a young black man, and it's caused a lot of concern within the community. Police are saying that there's been a lot of misinformation, and they're trying to show evidence that they have, they say, that proves that there was no foul play. And what they believe happened is that this young man took his own life. But a lot of people in the community haven't seen that evidence. They are concerned that there is foul play involved with this. As we get more information from the police, we're going to be sure to let you guys know about it. So once we get that, we'll let you know. As we continue here at 3 o'clock, we're going to continue with a local check of your weather forecast. I also want to take you out to Hall County and give you an update as to where we stand with the latest in the trial of Colin Gray. We'll see you here in just a bit.
Welcome back in, you guys. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for being here. We first brought you a story about a Sonoya contractor who is facing some fraud charges, it sounds like, and now this case has grown. Our Doug Evans joins us live. And Doug, I know you're in between stories and you got a limited battery life. So what can you tell us about this case?
All right, let's move quickly, Ariel. Listen, as you know, Sonoya is home to the hit cable show The Walking Dead. Here's a nightmare for consumers who apparently were doing business with a contractor here. 6 people have now come forward in this case. We first brought it to you last August. Nathan Gividen is the contractor, accused of not finishing a garage in August, maybe not even starting. 17 grand missing. Since our story aired, the police department here said they've been flooded with calls from all over Metro Atlanta. They have 5 new charges. Let's hear from Captain Jason Urkel of the Sonoya Police Department.
All right, so we did the story back in August of last year. You'd arrested him for a case involving a garage that never got built.
Yes, once we were able to get him charged with the first count of theft, and with the help of your viewers and by posting it on our social media, it garnered some attention. There were over 30 people who contacted us to advise that they were somehow victimized by Mr. Gividen. And so they shared their stories with us. Unfortunately, not all of them lived within my jurisdiction. Only a handful of those actually lived in Coweta County, but of those victims, we were able to identify 5 other victims of felony theft at the hands of Mr. Gividen, and in total, the $17,100 from my initial victim, we've now added another $150,000 worth of theft on the part of Mr. Gividen.
Were these projects that people paid for and then they never started, partially started?
So in most of these cases, these projects involved the victim giving money as a down payment, and then him not completing the project and taking money from them, promising materials for the project and never delivering the materials or returning the money for those materials. So basically he was telling them, I need such and such money for these materials to finish your project, and those materials were never purchased after he was given the money by the victims.
And what are the charges?
So right now he's facing a total, the original charge that we had him about last year, and the 5 more that we've added, he's facing 6 felony counts of theft by conversion.
All right, so there's the update on this case that we first brought you last August. Nathan Gividen, a contractor here, under scrutiny by law enforcement since August. They've charged him now with 5 additional counts of theft by conversion, a total of $150,000 in money that was apparently paid to him, the police say, and work never done, never started, materials not purchased, that sort of thing. What can consumers do? Check out that contractor before you do business. Be careful about giving them money up front. There's lots of ways to do that kind of research online at the Secretary of State's page. Make sure that they have licenses. Apparently, Mr. Gividen had a contractor's license that had expired, was no longer good, and apparently he had a business license that had been revoked over in Peachtree City, which is not far from here. So a lot of people apparently out some money, Ariel, but police trying to make it right and giving them some justice in court.
Well, Doug, it's so remarkable because I feel like any time there is a fraud story regarding a contractor or someone of a similar kind of profession and a picture is posted, usually it's not an isolated incident. And just seeing that photo, a lot of people come out of the woodwork to say, hey, I know that guy. I hired him to do such and such, and he never did that. So interesting to see how this case has grown for sure. Doug, I know you're...
some of the...
Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Doug. I was going to save you because I know your battery life's low.
Yeah, well, the camera's battery life is low. I'm doing okay, thanks. Yeah, some of these cases were civil matters, they found out. The work was not done to their satisfaction, so that's a civil matter, not a criminal matter. But out of these 30 cases that came out from our story, at least 5 of them turned into criminal investigations. In this jurisdiction, there may be more charges in other jurisdictions as well.
Incredible feeling when your reporting helps lead to more people getting answers to a situation that they're involved in. So, Doug, wonderful job. I'll let you go. I know that your camera battery is low, not your battery, and get ready for your stories as you continue here. So, Doug, thanks so much for joining us live. As we continue here within the 3 o'clock hour, you guys, if you've stepped outside today, you know it is chilly, and it's quite the difference from what we have been experiencing these past few milder weeks here in February. So Jonathan Stacy has the tea on where the weather forecast is headed.
It's quite a chilly start to the work week, and then that chill is being reinforced by some restless winds. Those winds will continue to gust today up towards 30 miles an hour, maybe even 40 miles an hour in some cases. Therefore, your wind chills will be the focal point of the forecast carrying over into tomorrow morning. We'll have wind chills throughout the remainder of the day, even during the prime heating of the day, that are below freezing. We're going to stay dry over the next couple of days, but we'll look out for some rain by midweek. Let's go ahead and run the clock in your hour-by-hour forecast here. Those restless and relentless wind streams continue to come in from the north and the west, and that is really hurting our temperature growth for this Monday. By 4 o'clock, 41 degrees on the thermometer, but it feels like 33 degrees, feeling like 31 in Cornelia, 36 Athens, 39 in Eaton, go up to Rome, 35 degrees, 33 in Carrollton, 35 for LaGrange, and then the sun sets, and this is what you have. You have winds that are starting to back off a bit, but still with a gentle wind and some very cold air, it's going to feel quite frigid out there. Feeling like 25 degrees at the 8 o'clock hour, 23 in Canton, 20 there in LJ, 27 in Rome. It looks like this feels like the numbers are going back down into the teens, especially to the north of the city as we get into your Thursday or your Tuesday. 19 degrees tomorrow morning for a wind chill, 17 in Canton. A soft wind will be going. Of course, we'll have some wind friction here in the Atlanta metro area as a result of all of our big buildings, so those wind tunnels will create a wind chill factor tomorrow morning of 20 degrees, despite the reading saying 26 degrees. But tomorrow ultimately is the turnaround day, and we should begin to thaw out, and we should do it without a problem. The winds will have softened. We'll have plenty of sunshine, a few passing clouds, but overall it's a pretty decent forecast, especially for the second half of the day. It's now 4 o'clock, and you can see here we have cracked the 50-degree mark, made it to around 53 degrees. In fact, 55 for Newton County, go down to Upson County, 55 there, 53 in LaGrange, 52 Cornelia, 50 even in Blairsville. So it looks like everybody across North Georgia will enjoy a really nice and a much-needed warm-up, considering just how cold we were last night into tonight and for the first part of the day tomorrow. In terms of Wednesday, we will have temperatures that are going to be on the mild side, but it's not going to necessarily feel that way by morning. 33 degrees for a feels like temperature, but that wind out of the south and the west will aid and abet the entrance of moisture into the area, and so you'll notice more clouds on Wednesday, and temperatures, they will be back into the 60s for the most part, lower 60s across the area, but that could be blighted by a passing shower or two. Your rain chances for Wednesday are fairly low, but they do spike going into Thursday. A few isolated showers are possible for Wednesday, but it looks like the best chance for rain comes Thursday. That rain sticking around through the overnight hours, possibly mixing in with a rumble of thunder by Friday. Here's a look at your Fox 5 Storm Team 7-day forecast here. We're not going to be cold for long, but it's going to endure at least for the next 36 hours. We'll turn the temp down to 26 degrees tonight, making it back to the low 50s tomorrow. Still below average for Tuesday, but above average by Wednesday, with clouds and rain taking center stage for the second half of the work week.
Thanks, Jonathan, for keeping us updated on where we're headed. And, you know, you guys, it may be cold here in Georgia, but we could be dealing with something even worse. Up in the Northeast, they are really dealing with a blizzard. There's no way around it. At this point, snow has been piling up across a lot of states there, and it's been a historic storm that's intensified. Even today, snow has been piling on for 24 hours straight, truly. Across the region, officials are seeing record-breaking snowfall, and this powerful bomb cyclone has barreled through the Northeast with more than 40 million Americans under blizzard warnings. It's heavy and dense snow, and it's combined with high winds, which of course is putting a strain on the power lines. So more than 500,000 people are without power across the East Coast. 100,000 of those outages are in the state of New Jersey alone. And the snow has led to low visibility and near whiteout conditions in some areas. Wouldn't want to be driving in that. Many states have proactively suspended mass transit systems and enacted travel bans. New York's mayor has asked people to stay off the road and to stay inside. Travelers at the airport have been hit really hard. Tens of thousands of flights have been disrupted, and those are expected to continue through tomorrow. So keep that in mind. If you have travel plans, check your airline's app for the latest information. Moving here nationally, I want to talk a little bit about what unfolded at Mar-a-Lago over the weekend. The FBI is investigating, and we're not sure what the motive in this situation is yet, or whether or not it may have been a third assassination attempt on President Trump. But it comes as the president is preparing to deliver his State of the Union address tomorrow night. We always see stepped-up security around Mar-a-Lago and the White House around that time when the State of the Union is about to happen. But this latest incident may just underscore how many potential threats are out there. Palm Beach Sheriff Rick Bradshaw, in a news conference, held up a photo of what they recovered and who they believe to be involved in this case. They've identified the man shot and killed by police there as 21-year-old Austin Tucker Martin. He was killed after allegedly trying to enter President Trump's property at Mar-a-Lago. Rick Bradshaw, the sheriff at Palm Beach, says that officers asked him to drop his weapon or drop his items, which meant the gas can and the shotgun that he was holding. And the sheriff says that he put the gas cans down and pointed the shotgun at officers, at which point officers did open fire. President Trump was not in Florida at the time, and the motive in this incident is unclear. But whatever the motive is, it could further intensify security preparations for the State of the Union tomorrow. So that's something we're going to continue to keep you updated on. No doubt the president's going to be speaking about the lapse in funding to the Department of Homeland Security. There on Capitol Hill. We also expect it to be very full of not just officials, lawmakers, and other guests, but there's also reports that the president has invited both the United States men's and women's hockey teams to the White House, fresh off of their gold medal wins. So we'll keep you updated there. The president also wants to enact a 15% global tariff. He said that Saturday, and that's up from the 10% the president had announced after the United States Supreme Court's decision. Now, that decision from the Supreme Court came Friday, striking down many of the far-reaching taxes on imports that the president has imposed on nearly every country over the last year. The president used the emergency powers law for his tariffs, but now he plans to use a different, albeit more limited, legal basis for these next round of tariffs. He's already signed an executive order that enables him to bypass Congress and impose a 10% tax on imports starting tomorrow, the same day as that State of the Union address. Those tariffs, though, are limited to 150 days unless Congress were to pass some legislation that were to extend it. As we continue here at 3 o'clock, I want to get you guys a check of a deadly fire in Cobb County. We've been talking about this heartbreaking story. I want to see where we stand with this coming up next with our Annie map.
Welcome in, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstott. Thanks so much for being here at 3 o'clock. We have a heartbreaking situation unfolding in Cobb County where a massive fire has displaced dozens of people in an apartment complex, hurt others, and killed some members of a family. I want to get out to our Annie Mapp, who joins us live now. Annie, what are you learning there on the ground?
Ariel, yes, a very sad story. We spoke to the family members of those victims killed. They share they are originally from Haiti, and a mother and her 2 children died. We know the father and another child are in the hospital in critical condition. This all occurred at this apartment you see behind me on that 2nd floor. Just a devastating situation. The Cobb County Fire Department says they responded to the tragedy around 10 last night and instantly saw heavy flames coming out of that 2nd-story apartment, which they believe was the origin of the fire. Crews managed to rescue 5 people from that unit and say a 6th person jumped out of a 2nd-floor window. All residents of that apartment were taken to an area hospital.
Hey, Annie, it looks like your shot went down, so we're going to try to continue to get an update with you here in just a little bit. I'm looking off to my right at our wall of monitors, and I don't see your shot at all, so we'll see if we can bring you back in live to continue chatting with us about this situation. As we watch here, we're seeing new video from the daylight of this situation as it unfolded. We've been showing you guys what it looked like overnight and early this morning, and now you can see that the fire is out, just how devastating this has been for people who live there. At this point, we know that the American Red Cross and a local church are trying to help the residents who've been displaced in this. As we get any more information, maybe ways that you can help, we'll let you know right here on Fox Local. You can find details added to the web story here within our app. But keep in mind, the American Red Cross helps a lot of families here around our area who've been displaced by fires, and they're always taking donations and other ways that people would like to help about the situation. So as we continue, I'm going to continue to look off to my right to see, but it looks like Annie's shot is down. So if she's able to join us later, we'll check back in with her. But at this point, for those who are just joining us live, we're getting the latest information about an apartment fire in Cobb County. And what Annie was just letting us know from the ground is that it was a family that was involved in this tragic situation. We're reporting here that 3 people are dead, 2 children and 1 adult. It was a massive fire there in Cobb County, and at this point it's a situation that we're going to continue to monitor. I do see Annie's shot, it looks like, back up. Maybe we can see if she's able to check in with us and chat a little bit more about how this unfolded. Annie, I do see you again live. It looks like you can hear me. So you were saying, I think we lost you right as you were kind of talking about how all of this unfolded. I'll let you pick it back up from there.
Yes, Ariel. So as mentioned, Cobb County Fire Rescue responded around 10 o'clock last night, and they say they got here and instantly noticed that the 2nd floor apartment that you see there to the left was just fully engulfed in flames. They believe that apartment was the origin of this devastating fire. Cruise officials do say that a person managed to jump from a 2nd floor window. Again, all residents of that apartment had to go to the hospital. Again, we do know 2 children and an adult died. We are still working to get an updated report on the conditions of the 2 other victims hospitalized. I did get a chance to speak to a woman who lived on the 3rd floor of this building. Her unit also destroyed in that blaze. She says everything happened really fast. Take a listen.
I still have my life, and I still have my son and my grandmother and my dog. But it's just honestly devastating. I feel a lot of emptiness because I just feel like I built a life in there for 11 years and now it's gone. And it just makes me really sad.
It's all very heartbreaking, Ariel. Again, we know about 30 residents were displaced. As you mentioned, they are getting assistance from the Red Cross. Also, a local church is helping. But it's just a very tough situation for these families. Many of them who say they just don't know where they will go next. Ariel.
Yeah, Annie, you know, Ariana, you could feel the empathy in her voice and her eyes for those who have lost so much more than she did, even though she family lost everything, and just a really tough situation to be in. Has the Red Cross shared any way we could help these families? Have they set up any fundraisers or things of that nature? Do you know?
The Red Cross specifically hasn't sent us any details on how more people can get involved in helping these families, but some of the folks that we interviewed did share GoFundMe, so we have now shared those, and we'll be posting those on our website for those who want to assist these families after this hard time.
Annie, thanks so much for joining us live, letting us know where things stand here in the afternoon hours. Really appreciate it. I'll let you get back to gathering more information. Thanks so much. As we continue here at 3 o'clock, I want to continue with a story that has continued to captivate a lot of attention here within our newsroom and beyond. And we're talking about the trial of Colin Gray. We are now officially in day 6 of this trial. Today, we heard from Marcee Gray, and she's actually the mother of Colt Gray. At the center of this case is Colt Gray. He is the accused high school shooter of Appalachia High School back in September of 2024. And throughout this case, we've been able to get a closer picture to maybe a little bit more of what's been going on in the home during the time of this shooting. We were able to hear from Colt Gray's mother about what the family life was like. At the heart of this case for Colin Gray, who is on trial currently, is whether or not he should have done more to prevent his son from allegedly opening fire there within the school back in September. Prosecutors say that he knew his son was a risk and gave his son a weapon and didn't do enough to safeguard firearms within his own home. And so that's something that prosecutors say he needs to face consequences for. The defense, on the other hand, of course, is pointing out a little bit more about what Colt's mental status was like and saying some of this simply wasn't avoidable. As we continue to get more insight from the mother in this case, I'd like to let you listen in on some of her testimony earlier today.
Colt, I've talked to him in detail about it many times, and he was excited. He was on board with it. He wanted to go somewhere where he could stay there for a certain amount of time and get help.
Was the defendant supportive of getting Colt into therapy or counseling? Or inpatient treatment?
In general, he didn't usually have a whole lot to say about it, but there were multiple occasions where I tried to talk to him about it, and his initial reaction was always, well, what if there's nothing wrong with him? What if he's just messed up? What if he's just a piece of crap person? Then what are we going to do? And I said, well, for one, as his mother, I know that there's something that he's dealing with. He's got issues. He needs help. That's not even a question in my mind. But if we do go somewhere and they say, you know, there's nothing we can do or whatever, then we'll find another doctor until we find him the help he needs. But I was not happy with the reaction that I got most of the time when I would try to talk to the defendant about getting Colt help.
At any point, kind of over the years, had he been supportive of trying to get Colt into therapy?
No.
So you're listening in as Marcee Gray testified in the courtroom earlier today. Some of you here on TikTok are asking if this is live. No, it is not. This is Marcee's testimony from earlier this morning. But I've looked off to my right, and the seal is up on our video monitor in the courtroom. Our live feed shows that it looks like they are in a break currently. So it appears that Marcee Gray has stepped off the stand. She has been there for truly the entire day, receiving questioning from prosecutors and then cross-examination from the defense. One thing that we've watched unfold in the courtroom today is as Marcee was able to testify, you heard a little bit more about what she felt were risk factors in her son's behavior. You heard her talk a little bit about how she felt that her son needed help, and then she further testified that she felt that Colin Gray, the man on trial here and Colt Gray's father, did not take the appropriate action to move those steps forward. That was according to her testimony. Jurors also reviewed police body camera footage in this trial prior to the visit to the Gray home, and that body camera footage showed some stuff that jurors have been able to get a closer look at, namely all of this painting a picture as to Colt Gray's mental status leading up to the shooting. A school counselor described the district's digital monitoring system, which flagged certain words on students' devices for follow-up. And what we're really seeing from this courtroom is getting a sense of a lot of the different warning signs that prosecutors say were present leading up to that shooting. Colin Gray has pled not guilty. His defense team is arguing he could not have predicted his son's attack and disputes the state's claim that he bears criminal responsibility in this case. So we'll continue to keep you updated as this continues. No doubt when we get more information from the courtroom and as this trial progresses, we'll let you know who's set to testify next. But it is rather late in the day, and at this point, Marcee Gray has just stepped off the witness stand. So we'll continue to keep you updated. Coming up, we're going to take you out to the airport where we're going to get a check of an artificial intelligence art exhibit. Sounds pretty unique, and that's because it is. Georgia Tech is putting this on, and our Chris Rosenthal is going to take us there coming up. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstad. Thanks so much for being here with us live. I want to tell you about a art exhibit at Georgia's airport, or rather Atlanta's airport, to be specific. And our Chris Rosenthal shows us how Georgia Tech is using artificial intelligence to create this interactive experience. Check it out.
Hey, I am at the Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport T concourse here, and it's a pretty busy day. A lot of people hustle bustle coming and going, but some of them taking a stop to look at some of the art here. Over 26 art exhibitions here at the airport, and there's a new one here that was put in with a partnership between Georgia Tech and Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, and I am joined by Bernie Robert here with Georgia Tech. And Bernie, Bernie, tell me about this art exhibit here.
Yes, thank you for having me today. This exhibit, Transcend, is a partnership between Atlanta Airport, Hartsfield-Jackson, and Georgia Tech. And so we are partnering to showcase this art and innovation that's happening at Georgia Tech in this large civic space known as the Hartsfield-Jackson Airport.
And why here?
Yeah, so Hartsfield-Jackson's mission is to bring art and well-being into the lives of their employees and their travelers, and they see nearly 300,000 travelers per day. And also Georgia Tech has a mission of bringing art and creativity as it pertains to science and technology into public spaces, outside of the lab, outside of the classroom, and in public spaces such as the airport. So our mission's aligned, and it's been a great partnership.
Tell me about the artists here that are involved. It's multiple artists, huh?
Yeah, so multiple artists are involved from Georgia Tech, and they all have to do with movement. All the pieces have to do with movement, whether that's physical, virtual, or cultural ways of movement, from AI-powered dance and robotic percussions to textiles and plastic waste. All the artists are using movement as a catalyst for transformation, and Georgia Tech really loves collaboration, and so two of these pieces are outcomes of collaborations, one with Georgia State University and another with Kennesaw State University.
What is this one right here? This one is a very AI interactive exhibit here.
Yeah, so this one is May I Have This Dance, and a lab out of Georgia Tech developed all this technology and science to use AI and also dancers and traditional forms of dance. And this is a partnership between Kennesaw State University's dance department. And so really they focused on taking all those dance moves and then innovating them with AI to then improvise with you. So not only are you just dancing alone, but you're dancing with this AI avatar. So thinking about AI for text and images, but it can also be for movement and dance.
Wow, yeah, I can see it kind of follows my movements and interacts with me here. So a few more here. I mean, you got some music-based ones here as well, huh?
Yeah, so this is bikes, also coming from a lab from Georgia Tech, and thinking about a bike as a traditional mode of movement, getting from point A to B, but what if that bike, a sustainable battery-powered bike by this company Edison, could then ride with a fleet of other bikes to become this mobile instrument and orchestra playing electronic music wherever through sustainable ways without power cords or generators. So just another thing that's going on at Georgia Tech.
What do you hope people, when they come by here, what do you hope they get out of seeing this exhibit and stopping and taking a look?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I really hope people come away from this exhibit feeling inspired and seeing how science and technology is not just something you have to read about, but that you can embody and experience it through art. And so that's what we hope with this exhibit in Terminal T North at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport.
Absolutely. Bernie Robert, thank you for joining us today. Yeah, this exhibit here, it started in November and will run until November of this year here at the airport. So if you're coming through Terminal T, check it out. Back to you.
Thanks so much for joining us, showing us how we can see that if we choose to do so. It's at Atlanta's airport, and you know Atlanta's airport has a lot of different art exhibits. This is just one of many there on display that you can peruse if you would like to do so. As we continue here at 3 o'clock, I want to tell you about a couple popular restaurants that are closing in Athens. One of them is Weaver D's Delicious Fine Foods, and it's closing February 28th after nearly 4 decades. The property was purchased by the owner of Batty's Burger House, and you know that it's a soul food institution on East Broad Street, and it's been really iconic there in the Athens area. De Palma's Italian Cafe is another that's going to shut down its Athens location February 27th after 38 years. The owner, Dave Cappy, says he's entering a new season and slowing down, and this reflects that chapter. But we'll continue to keep you updated as this progresses.
if you want to enjoy these restaurants one more time, you really have until the end of this week to do so, because this Sunday is March 1st, if you can believe it. One other thing I want to let you guys know about involves some major training and changes, or rather major changes coming to training for CDL licenses and how they teach people with commercial driver's licenses, because the U.S. Department of Transportation says it's making these extensive changes, and now the Department of Transportation is going to require all commercial driver's license exams to be administered exclusively in English. The change in language testing is intended to eliminate states' ability to test potential commercial drivers in multiple languages. The Department of Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy noted California offers CDL testing in 20 languages. He also says states will be asked to disqualify potential drivers who fail to meet federal English proficiency standards. Federal officials have recently conducted more than 8,200 inspections under Operation Safe Drive, with about 500 drivers cited for not being able to meet English proficiency. The Department of Transportation also wants to strengthen oversight and ensure drivers can read English language road signs and communicate with law enforcement if they were to be pulled over. The moves come after several recent high-profile big rig crashes, some of them involving drivers illegally here in the United States, resulting in those deaths. So something we'll no doubt be letting you guys know about as this progresses, and if anything were to change, but just some big changes coming to CDLs and how training is mandated on behalf of the federal government. As we continue here, coming up, we are looking ahead to 4 o'clock, where news is just about to begin. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for being live with me here. News continues in just a bit.